It is movement week on Freeze Day of Sea Season in the year 1626. You are all of you traveling from Clearwine, the city of Clearwine, one of the most amazing cities in all of Sartar, or fortress city as it was. Um, and you are at the branch where, or rather, I should say, the intersection between the creek and the Creeksteam River. Give me a moment here. I'm having all right. Oh, sorry. Like for some reason my machine has frozen up. All right. Ah, I don't know what just happened. All right. So you are on your way between Clearwine and along the stream. It's a river that's basically called the stream for reasons that are lost to time. I'm going to post a copy of the map in the Slack channel so that you can get an idea about what I'm talking about, but it's not essential that you pay attention to it. I generally like to run things where you don't need to pay too much attention to the map. So you're on your way there. Now you have arrived. You are at a you've crossed the stream over at the old elf ruin and made your way down to the point where you're at the southern branch of where it meets with what is called the stream. There are two great rivers up in Sartar, the creek and the stream, and they converge to the creek stream river. Um, you're waiting for a boat. It is cold. It is the morning. It is, of course, sea season is spring in Glorantha, but it is also early in sea season and it is a bit chilly. There's a mist in the air, and you think back to, I guess, the question of why exactly are you here waiting for a boat at the creek, along the stream and the creek, waiting for a boat? And so I'm going to take you back via the means of flashback to a point where you found yourself a day earlier in Clearwine, this magnificent city in Sartar, where you were speaking with none other than Argrath. Um, Argrath is a heroic figure in Sartar. As you may or may not know, in Glorantha, one of the primary conflicts of the age is the war between the Lunar Empire, which has occupied much of Dragon Pass, and the various peoples of Dragon Pass who would rather not be occupied by the Lunar Empire. Argrath is a war leader who seemingly came out of poverty and obscurity to rise to the point where he is arguably the most important person in the rather the most important political figure in the world at the time. He has galvanized the Sartorites into an uprising in which they are pushing back on all fronts against the Lunars. This culminated a year and a half ago in what was called the Dragon Rise, an event where a massive dragon manifested and basically broke the backs of the Lunars. And now Argrath is sort of in this odd, quiet period where he's consolidating his forces and trying to figure out what to do next. He's sent a lot of them out to Pavis, to the distant east, and he is occupying Boldholm and Clearwine at various times. The queen of Clearwine is Queen Leka, the head of the tribe, the Kolimar tribe, of which Vasana and Harmast are both members. And he has summoned you because you have all risen to his attention. You've got some acclaim through various deeds you have done, and he summons you, and you arrive. You are in Queen Leka's hall, but Argrath is sort of sitting there with a gang of his followers. He's a very he's a very eccentric kind of fellow because he doesn't match the standard of what the typical people of this era look like. He's a little he's a little scruffy. He's a little unorthodox. He's a little wild. He's visually interesting looking because his eyes, he has one blue and one green eye, which are a little unusual. And he doesn't look anything like a hero. In fact, he looks like a scruffy, um, petty bandit who somehow managed to find his way into fame. You know, he almost though carries a lot of charisma with him, so he's got a little bit of a rock star presence. And in the court of Leica, who sort of tolerates him, he's a VIP, as it were. And he basically, as you approach, the five of you, he seemed very happy to see you, and he said, "I have a thing I need you to do. Um, how eager are you to travel by ship? I need people to go down to Nochet and deliver something for me, a gift, queenly gifts." Now, Sorala, you are, or Mike Sorala, you are from Nochet. This is your home city. Um, Nochet is the capital city of Esrolia, which is a kingdom directly south of where you are. And it's been a while since you've been home. So, yes, if he mentions queenly gifts, he's probably talking about gifts to your very queen, Samastina, who you have some loyalty to. So,
yeah, certainly.
Okay. He says, I have need to basically to remind her of the fondness I have for her, and the appreciation I show for all she has done for me and for my war effort. I know that things are challenging right now, but I trust you as ambassadors that you might deliver these fine gifts, which we will ready soon. And he sort of looks at the Queen's staff, and they all look a bit nervous and like they don't know what he's talking about. And he says, yes, we will assemble many gifts, just all kinds of wonderful things that will remind her of the great love I have for her and the high regard that the people of Sartar and Clearwine show for the Queen of Nochet. Yeah, and he seems, and at this point then he says, will you do this for me?
Any chance
And
to
he
go
looks
Of
at
course.
each of you.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
any chance to go home, especially with gifts. Yeah, to return
Such
triumphant.
fine gifts. Yes, fine gifts, I promise. Vasana, you who have shown such valor in war, can I count on you to see that these gifts arrive safely?
Of course.
And Harmast, you
Anything that promotes harmony. Would love to help.
good. And Vostor, yes, you?
Of course, if my friends are going, I am with them.
All right. And your name, Nothing. Yes, that's just it. I remember you. And he doesn't really know you that well. He was probably coaxed. And he says, "Can you aid these friends and put your," and I guess he looks at your bow that you've got slung over your back, and he says, "Put your bow to use defending these treasures?"
Words are not my strength, but my bow shall serve them well.
Very well then. He says, come. And he leads you all with a small retinue of, I guess, Leica's castle attendees, her various retainers and whatnot, and a couple of clerks. They go into her vaults, which are just a ramshackle pile of, there's treasures, there's coffers of gold and silver coins, there's armor and weapons and bolts of silks and samite from all corners of the empire. And he says, now, Kalir, she doesn't really even know what she's got here. She, took the castle a few years ago, and I'm sure they're still categorizing things. So he starts just going through almost like he's on one of those, a short-term shopping expedition, and he's basically pulling things off of some shelves and, saying this and these coins, and he, hands over to a group of these followers a bunch of just random items. He's grabbing like a scepter here that's got, some kind of crazy winged design on it, chased with gold and runes. And here's a couple of beautiful dresses that are sort of hanging from pegs. And he says, those, oh, yes, this will look good with her eyes. And he piles up, the equivalent of quite a substantial amount of stuff. And then at one point he looks over and he says, oh, this. And he opens up a little wooden box, and there's some sort of a twisted thing of, looks like red stone. And he closes that and he says, I don't know what it is, but that would be good too. And some of these and some of these. And he, looks over, and there's a strange eye that looks like it's made out of some kind of precious stone that looks like a reptile's eye, with a crazy gold and silver lid that closes, probably something made by the dwarves. And he's like, oh, this would be perfect. She would love this. You push the little button and the eye opens and closes. And after a little bit, he assembles just a big pile of what looks like a lot of really valuable stuff. It's not an enormous pile, but it's the equivalent of a shopping basket or a basket full of stuff. And then he says, and a couple of casks of fine oil, some amphora of the richest clear wine. And he starts barking orders. And he says, all of this, that should do. Can you take these items to Queen Samastina and remind her of the great affection I hold for her, and remind her of the debt I owe her. And that I know that these are just token gifts, but they are, they definitely should show her that I value her and her investments in the cause very greatly. Can you do this for me? All right. Anyone who is curious, I would like you to make a roll of your int ×5 if you feel like it. You don't need to, it's not essential. But, and then Sarala, I will give you the opportunity to make a slightly different roll.
Okay.
I would like you, Sarala, to, I'm looking at your character sheet now in my old school book off to the side here. Could you make a Homeland Lore Esrolia roll for me? Oh, yeah.
Let's see.
So, Toad, you know nothing. You're just not even aware. Okay, all right, brilliant.
Nice.
So, Vasana and, oh wait, have you rolled yet? Oh, here we go. Oh, wow. That's an amazing roll. So, okay, for those of you who made insane rolls, Vasana, you realize that, all right, this is what you know. Argrath is his war is being financed by Queen Samastina of Esrolia, which is fine. That's totally okay. Now, the problem is that Esrolia is currently being sieged by the Wolf Pirates, a group of fierce bandits that prey upon the southern coast of Esrolia. They are monstrous. They are led by a fellow named Herrick the Berserk. Herrick is legendary, and I think Vostor has a fear of Herrick, in fact, because those scars on Vostor's face came courtesy of Herrick himself. Now, the thing that's interesting is Herrick and Argrath are sworn brothers. They are besties, as it were. They are staunch allies and have fought alongside each other and sworn allegiance to one another. So it is a bit of an awkward situation that Argrath's war is being financed by a queen whose kingdom is being sieged by Argrath's best friend's pirate buddy. So, so you can guess that he's trying to sort of smooth things over here quite a bit. Now, Sarala with your successful roll, you know something that the others do not. And that is that, in fact, Samastina is pregnant. And that is most likely, the rumors have it, with Argrath's child. So this is all kinds of complicated. So you can guess that you are, in fact, goodwill ambassadors to try to smooth over a very complicated and perhaps unusual circumstance. And, who knows what emotional weight there is attached to this mission of yours. So with that in mind, we now return to the present time, the next day, where you find yourselves at the shore waiting for the boat. A message was sent to the people of Duck Point, which is immediately to the west of Clearwine. And they said that they had a ship that was heading down all the way down to Noshet and the Mirasay Bay, and that you would be welcome to go on that. Money was provided for your passage, and so now all you had to do was basically make your way down the stream and catch the boat from Duck Point to the north. And so with that in mind, as you are waiting, you see eventually a ship begin to come from the north. It is a two-deck ship. It's a very long ship, sort of like one of the Greek biremes, with rows of oars that are not being used because it's, of course, sailing downstream. There is a sail, and of course they see you as well. What are you doing, folks?
I just want to mention.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you can go ahead first, Armest.
The goods themselves, what's the volume and weight total? Is it a box cart full?
Oh, no. In fact, it's probably several boxes and soft, like heavy leather bags and a couple of small wooden bags, which the next question I was going to ask you is, have you decided to take a small wagon or just take the things on your mounts? Now, of those of you who are here, Natham, you've got your Shadow Cat, which are you bringing it with you?
How does he react to others?
What's that?
How does he react to others?
It's friendly enough.
Okay, I'll bring him.
Okay. And Vasana, are you bringing your bison?
How will the bison react to being on a boat?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Who knows?
Are you guys hearing interference? I'm
I'm
hearing
getting a
some
little
crackling. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
It might be because Jeremiah and I are in the same room.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah.
It's okay. We will
guys
probably leave ours muted unless one of us is speaking.
Okay. Hopefully you can coordinate. So, all right, it should work out fine. And then Harmast, you've got two riding zebras.
I guess I'll bring one of them
Okay.
with me. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
No to the
Okay.
bison.
All right. So you have, you have enough that you could basically load on these animals without needing to carry a cart or any additional item. It's certainly not a gigantic amount of stuff.
I have a couple of thoughts. What do you guys think about doing something like this? We get a cart, and we get bags and boxes that look exactly like the bags and boxes we just got. We put all of those in the cart. The real stuff we carry on ourselves.
It was a diversion.
Yeah.
Is there enough of us for that to be able to put in backpacks and such?
Probably not for everything.
Not really. Yeah,
Maybe
I mean,
for the more expensive pieces.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, he mentioned a couple of things like amphoras of sacred oil, and there's some stuff that's moderately bulky.
So maybe that we can leave in the cart or on a mount if we don't want to bring a cart. And some of the more expensive, maybe smaller pieces we can carry with us. That'd be a good idea.
Sounds good to me.
Who's the healer? Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I feel like I'm going to need my bison on the other end of the travel?
Probably not. I mean, Noshet is it's actually the biggest and most cosmopolitan city in all of Dragon Pass and maybe the world. It would, be like bringing it to New York or to London.
Okay.
Unless you plan on riding back, you would not have a lot of use for it. Okay. But Vasana is very attached to her bison, and it could just be that if she finds herself needing to be doing some cavalry warfare, well, there's the thing. The ship is capable of carrying mounts. So it's really up to you.
Volster is on foot.
Right.
I don't think Sorala has any mounts or anything.
Nope. These characters are from our playtest campaign, our local campaign, and Sorala is repeatedly borrowing one of Harmast's zebras, generally, the way that plays out.
But
so,
as we sit here waiting for this boat, I just like to mention that all the scrolls I've read, all the legends I've ever studied, never has there been a boat that appears on time. We're always left out here in the cold.
Well, it certainly is cold as I wrap my cloak about me more.
Also, this treasure is way heavier than I thought it was going to be.
It's quite a lot of really nice stuff. I mean, you haven't gone through all of it. You saw when he was assembling some. And it looks like some things perhaps got switched out later, perhaps as a result of Queen Leica voting on whether or not she would, what she would allow him to take with her, or take with, as he got a little rambunctious and perhaps a little over-enthusiastic with his shopping spree. And you do notice that all of the things he threw into the pile of things to take or things to give didn't end up in the pile of things you were delivering. But it's still an interesting batch of curios and whatnot, and definitely some very queenly gifts. So it takes a while. What do you do while you are waiting for this ship to arrive?
I can regale people with tales from the Second Age.
Okay. All right. Well, fortunately, it doesn't take that long, and the ship swims into, or rather, sails into view, coming down the way. It is, as I said, a two-decked bireme, usually drawn by oars, which are retracted. They're only being used for some are being used for steering, but otherwise, the sails are furled, and you can hear a group of a little bit of drumming. To keep the few rowers in sync, and some shouts, and then eventually the ship sort of pulls almost to a stop a little ways upriver from you, and drifts very, very slowly, and the oar people are pulling against the tide to try to get the ship to stop, and somebody leans out the edge of the ship with a bullhorn and shouts, "You on the shore! Identify yourselves."
This is Harmast. And we want to take passage down the river.
You're Argrath's emissaries?
Correct.
Yes.
Excellent. And then they say, "We'll come as close as we can. You'll need to wade ashore." And they at that point, the ship actually steers up to very reasonably close to the shore. And unfortunately, you will have to, wade out into the water and then clamber on board. They put down a ramp and get some ropes ready to help with any animals and any like your small cart. So if you are taking your bison, Vasana, you'll probably need to make a ride roll to get it to agree to move into the water and then climb up into a ship. And I think your ride roll is
70%.
oh, that's pretty good. All right, let's see what happens. And the same with you, Harmast. Oh my God, you rolled insanely well. Yes, your bison just takes to the water as if it's a natural amphibian, and then clambers up. You know, the crew, a mixture of humans and ducks. They all sort of reach out to try to bring it on, and then it just storms up and then immediately shakes and douses everyone with water, much to their dismay. Harmast, your zebra balks.
Yep.
It acts very, very upset and does not like to be in the water because, of course, this is a riding zebra from the plains of Prax. It's really not used to the notion of swimming, especially in cold water, and then climbing onto a boat. And it's a bit frustrated, and it takes a little while. It's very awkward, but eventually they get it onto the ship. You certainly don't impress anyone with your zebra handling ability while you're doing that. And the cart, they managed to get on board anyway. Nathem, I'm curious about how you plan on transporting your shadow cat, which is basically a lynx-sized cat, onto a ship when you're basically going to wade out to water that's just probably about under your breastbone.
Mute.
You're still mute, yeah.
I'll let him stay behind.
Okay. Whoa, that's crazy. All right. Okay, so you're. Well, let me see. I'm going to make a roll for you. See if he. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm actually going to just roll dice freehand on my own. I have a little dice tray here that I'm going to. But yes, you kind of gesture at it, and he looks like he is not going to have any of this. Definitely does not want to be in the water. So is that okay? Are you prepared to allow him to fend for himself until you return?
I'll let him fend for himself.
Okay, cool. All right. Then, yeah, he basically takes a look at you. Some unspoken communication passes between you, and then he lopes off back towards Clearwine. You have ways of finding him, and you know that he'll be fine. All right. Then we get to, you guys are all on the boat at this point. A duck. What's that?
No, I was just saying, yay, we're on the ship.
You're on the boat, yes. And as you know, there is a race on in Glorantha of humanoid ducks, and one of them is in fact your captain. A fellow walks up. He's got some light leather armor and a big loose hat. He's, you know, short because most of the ducks, the Duruls are. And he says, "I'm Zan Karka, captain of the Wave Dancer. Welcome aboard."
Thank you for your flying welcome.
And he says, "We'll get those beasts put aside there." And they've got an area of the ship that's covered, and it looks like it's set up, and there are already a couple of mounts there. And so he urges you to escort your beasts of burden into those spots. I'm going to type the name of the captain in so you have him. All right, and he seems pretty eager, and he's looking a little curious at the amount of this cart full of stuff. And he says, we heard a message on the wind from Clearwine that said that you had very valuable cargo to take down to Nochet. Is that true?
It is.
Well, you'll be safe here. I've arranged a couple of cabins for you, and the funds, I assume, the payment, and he, in all likelihood, he looks at Vasana, but in fact, Vasana is usually the high charisma member of the group, so she's the one that usually gets paid attention to. But in fact, Harmast is in fact the business guy for the group, so you have the little pouch of coin for this voyage. So he says, so Redhead, you know, Red, what's the plan? Where's the money? Basically, and he holds out his hand for you.
Is there a bargaining role here, or just is it a flat fee?
Absolutely. No, you could try to haggle with him. He's clearly probably arranged something, but there is a bargain. And I believe Harmast's bargain skill is 65. Now, do you want to augment that? If you're coming in from RuneQuest 6, you would not know about augments. Augments are where you take one of your runes, which is one of your sort of mystical building blocks of the universe that you have some affinity for, or one of your passions, which are your personal beliefs and sort of allegiances, and you can roll against that to see if you get a bonus for the other thing. An example I use is that, for example, in the Lord of the Rings, one might say that Samwise probably has loyalty or devotion or love to Mr. Frodo at like 90%. So whenever he has to do a task that he would really, really, really like to achieve in, he might roll against his loyalty to Frodo to see if he can do that. And so in RuneQuest, you can use either a related skill, a passion, or a rune to try to augment a particular skill to see if you can do better.
I think I would say to the captain that trade on the river is good for harmony throughout Sartar, and so we should trade with one another fairly.
All right. So do you want to roll against your harmony rune?
Yes.
All right. That is a 90, so you've got a really good chance of succeeding here. Okay, so you succeeded with your roll, so add 20 to your bargain chance and then make a bargain roll.
Okay.
Oh my God, you got it exactly on the nose.
On the nose.
So yeah, you begin haggling with him a little bit, and then he, you think he may reject you completely, but in the end, he comes around and he agrees on the slightly lower amount that you negotiate for him. So you're able to probably put back about a fifth of the coins that you had been given for this passage. And you can just pocket that or put it towards a community fund or do whatever you wish with it.
Community fund sounds good.
All right, all right. So yes, then they are, once you're all squared away, you are shown a couple of rooms on the main deck. Part of the main deck is is concealed and covered, and like there's the bit with the animals, and then behind that there are a few cabins. And then there's an upper deck, which is usually where some of the cheap guests sleep and where some cargo is stored. So where will you put this very valuable cargo you have?
So each of us have our own room?
No, you'll probably have a couple of common rooms, like a couple of larger cabins that you can share.
So let's consolidate it in one room, and I'll stay in that room for sure.
Yep. That sounds good.
All right. So there you go then. Then you find yourselves, once everything is square, you find yourselves on the way, sailing down the river. As you, when you met with Argrath, he actually had one of the Lancourma priests of Laka's court, the fellow named Hostur, who basically pulled out a bunch of really old maps and showed you the route you would be taking. And you find yourself following it exactly because you don't have a lot of options if you're going downriver. And so you sail down the river. You pass the town of Monville, to the Wild Temple over towards the west. The river curves, and you find yourself passing through the large area, the region known as the Beast Valley. And this area is full of all sorts of wild creatures and beast men of various torps, from minotaurs to centaurs to there's all types of creatures. Even some of the fiendish brew dwell in this region. The time passes, meals are served, you meet some of the crew, and you can find yourself being as social as you would like, which is the question I would say. It's going to be a journey of, several days, if not possibly up to a week or so. So what are you doing in that time? Like, how are you finding yourselves entertained?
I'd like to ask the captain if he, what news he has of the river that we're going to traverse.
He says, the river. It's quiet as usual. Things got, there was some skirmishes, and some river bandits have been causing problems down to the south, but the folk of the Beast Valley don't truck to them very well, so that they haven't been much of a problem, he says. I think we will be safe and fine all the way to Noche. And if the weather holds, it should be a very smooth and very pleasant journey.
I'd like to get to know the crew.
All right. Yeah, there are a number of people. As I say, this is a ship out of Duck Point, and the crew is a combination of humans and ducks who work there. The ship, the Wave Dancer, is a merchant ship, and basically it just travels back and forth up the Creek Stream and the Liscos or Lixos River from Noche and the Mirror Sea Bay all the way back up to Duck Point. So it just sails down and then turns around and rows all the way back up. The crew, there are at least a dozen crew people and rowers. Actually, there was probably a few more, and they usually hire on. There are a number of people who are new on the ship that are rowers that they basically hire for a one-way trip. People who are booking passage the cheapest way possible to row on the ship. So yeah, I mean, the crew are available. They've got duties keeping the ship moving and rowing most of the time, but you can certainly either rowing or handling the sails and whatnot and the rigging. But you can make whatever small talk you would like with them. What would you like to say or do with them?
Oh, I just want to find out more about the tales of river pirates or river bandits.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of they talk about some. They mention a crazy story about this one fellow who like charged on board and with a whole herd of the river pirates at his tail. He had stolen an idol from some temple, and they were all chasing him. And then someone else says, "No, that's a story you heard." There are a little bit of jokes about whatnot. They say, though, no, the river pirates are notorious, but both Collier and Laka have tried to do their best to rid the river of the pirates, and the priests of Magasta and the various river gods have actually also put forth a concerted effort to try to clean things up a bit. And Asrolia, normally doesn't tolerate the river pirates, but they've grown a bit bolder in the time that they've been distracted by the wolf pirates preying on the coast, so they haven't been able to patrol the rivers as much as they would. So, but yes, they say the river pirates are generally they're not brave, and so they they probably won't trouble this ship. And at that, somebody on board, another passenger, he's certainly not a member of the crew, he sort of laughs at that, and he says, the river pirates will do what they will. They're fearless. And he turns back and sips from a large clay mug full of ale that he found somewhere.
You, good sir, are you affiliated with river pirates or knowledgeable about them?
He says, I would take offense at that, but no, you're clearly not from this region. It's Rolian. Yeah. And he looks at your, the Sorala wears sort of a veil that made of like jewels and metal, as is tradition. For the Lancourma scholar, all of the priests and whatnot, they generally try to wear, they either grow beards that are very long, and the women of the church they make decorative beards to, sometimes the Egyptian style where it's a little thing sticking off their chin, sometimes it's a veil, and Sorala has a very nice, very elegant, sort of longer one, and he looks at you and he says, yes, I assume you don't know much about the region. He says, no, I'm no ally of the river pirates. They're scum. But don't discount them. He says, Ariath, she's a bandit queen. And she is, in fact, the most notorious of them. I would not put it past her to make a try at this ship. And he then he makes a sort of a gesture of blessing for himself, and yeah, he's a Sardarite, but he's not of any clan that you would know. Definitely one of the lesser clans, not of the Kalimar clan.
Well, perhaps I guess ask him his name and maybe offer him a drink and tell me his tales.
He says, I'm Sislanis of, well, I was originally from Sartar, but I found better fortune in Valadon, and I'm returning there now. I've got some interesting business ventures I'm working on. I have drink aplenty, and he gestures with his big clay mug, and he says, but I'll gladly allow you to top that off. He throws back whatever he had in it and holds out his mug for more.
Well, I don't know what we have with us as far as like drinking wineskins or.
You can just assume that there's you can ask somebody or you've brought something, or, I don't really deal with the nitty gritty of what everybody might have in their saddlebags or their stuff. So yeah, you find yourself a little bottle of something, a clay jar. Pour him some wine, perhaps, maybe some clear wine. Since you just came from clear wine, it would seem logical that you have some. The cheap stuff, not the really fancy stuff.
But as a scholar, and I don't know much of his region, I'd just be like to get his stories down and just to educate myself.
All right. I will get back to you then. But yeah, he'll regale you with some various tales of the region and life on the river, which he seems to know quite a lot about. Others of you, what are you doing?
I'd like to spend most of my time on deck and just kind of watch the wildlife in the woods go by.
All right. Yeah, you see the shore recede, the sun comes up, the day passes. Everyone, it's very straightforward, very matter of fact ship life. It's not something you enjoy, because you're more of a figure spends most of his time in the woods and in the mountains of your homeland of Old Tarsh, the Bandit Kingdom, as it were. But it's it's interesting nonetheless. Could you make me a roll of your con times 5, if you could? Let's see what's happening here. Waiting. Oh my God, a critical again. Just nuts. So yeah, you find yourself, no sickness, no illness whatsoever. You find you're just perfectly at home on the boat and watching the various tide go. You do notice that this the fellow that seems to be talking to Sorala, he's definitely sizing you up. And he did also pay a lot of attention when you brought all this cargo on the ship and then immediately moved it into a room across from your own. Or rather, from what you would gather is his own. And
We'll return the favor and keep an eye on him.
Okay, cool. Vostor, how about you? What are you up to?
Yeah, I'm going to spend my time either in the room with our cargo, and I would assume I'd be switching off with different people, so we have somebody in there at all times. And then when on deck, I want to try to get a gauge of the people, looking for anybody who might cause us any issues, who might seem to be paying any more particular attention to us than any others, and that sort of thing. So mostly looking and not talking.
Okay, cool. All right, then you come up. You are, you're on deck, and I'm going to assume, because it's sane, that everyone is basically stripped down to their regular clothes rather than wearing their full metal armor and greaves on the ship, because that is a certain recipe for suicide if you walk around in metal armor on a ship, if you are swept over. Or is somebody like, I'm just going to wear my armor all the time and my weapons?
No, Volster will have his copus with him, but his armor he'll leave in the room.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I would like you, Vostor, to make me an insight human roll. You have the ability, I believe, and if you don't, let me tell you what your base chance will be on it.
I'm not sure I read that.
That would be perception.
As one of his.
Yeah, you actually don't have that skill.
Yeah.
So that would be at the base chance, which is not great. I'm going to tell you. Your insight is 20%.
Ooh, 16.
Oh, well, then there you go. Yeah, you look around, and Sorala seems to have found somebody who seems to be paying a lot of attention to what's happening, and to you and your friends. She seems to be quite eager to record things. She's like writing things down in her, she's got a little stylus and a little notebook, or a little sheaf of pages that she's taking notes on. And he seems to be talking to her, but his eyes keep flicking over to others on the ship.
That's what I want to know. I'm going to try to
you and your people.
Okay, I'm going to try to identify anybody besides us who he is paying attention to, who might be working in league with him, and try to make note of those people.
Okay, can you make me a scan roll for that?
65. Well, that didn't work. If I spell roll correctly.
That does, it is finicky that way. And every so often it just heads up. What What is going on here? Did you guys somehow hack the dice roller to just nothing
Wow.
spit out crits?
I think I like this dice roller. I'm going to use this more often.
It's pretty insane, yeah.
We'll just
So,
wait till
yeah,
combat
you
starts and
notice-
we use our rolls up.
Right.
Yeah, he does not seem to be paying attention to anyone else, and you don't see any of these signs of anybody giving, the sort of, I mean, you've certainly seen confidence games and, cut purses at work and thieves, and he seems to be working on his own as nearly as you
Okay.
can tell.
Well,
All
I'll
right.
keep an eye on him as he's speaking with Sarala, and even afterwards, I'll just try to keep, when I'm on deck, when I'm not in the room, I'm try to keep a apprise of where he is at.
Right. And yeah, he's definitely he's almost putting a little charm offensive on Sarala. He's definitely telling her a lot of stories that seem to sort of aggrandize himself. And, but he was also like making lots of eye contact and, saying her name a lot, and sort of doing all of the sort of the ways that a very charming rogue might use to win the confidence of somebody perhaps he had less than honorable intentions with.
I'm not, as of yet, I'm not going to interfere with that, but I'll definitely have my eye on him.
Okay. Harmast, what are you up to?
So, if I cast a detect enemies spell, that would be a power versus power resistance, right?
Yes. Well, yes. Let me get the exact. No, actually, it's just a. No, it's just a straight roll.
Just a straight
It's
roll?
your power. It's your power times 5 to cast the spell, and it will determine if anybody means to harm you. Now, very specifically, that is an enemy.
Yeah, I'm trying to sort out if there's anyone on the boat that actually does want to harm us, as opposed to has just mercenary interest in our stuff.
Absolutely.
So-
You could certainly cast it, and the spell's range would encompass the whole boat.
I rolled a 33. My power is 16.
Yeah, so with an 80% chance, you more than succeeded. Be sure to check off the magic point that you spent for that. You have to
Okay.
keep track of that somewhere. And yes, you find yourself refreshingly free of anybody who seems to wish you, nobody's trying to kill you. Nobody's trying to fight you. So
Good to know.
that's what you know.
Okay.
You feel safe enough.
So talk to the captain. We've got some sense of an individual who's a little overly familiar. Is there any other odd cargo that anyone's brought onto the boat? I mean, I would say our cargo was a little odd, but I'm wondering if anyone else brought anything on that's odd.
No, there doesn't seem to be. I mean, it's a lot of your standard trade goods that one might bring from this region. The ducks of Duck Point, they're also, because they're so close to the upland marsh, there's a lot of scavenging in the upland marsh. There's a lot of various creatures, dinosaurs, and a lot of weird undead and old ruins. So they generally find a lot of trinkets and things that were maybe taken from the unquiet dead, as it were, and there are a few cages with some small dinosaurs, like one a winged dinosaur and another something the equivalent of a very, very tiny velociraptor, and they're sort of there as perhaps novelties to be sold down in Nochet. But for the most part, the cargo that they have looks like very pedestrian stuff. Casks of ale, some silk and cotton from Sartar, and a number of other crafts that seemingly look like they were made by ducks themselves, which, for the novelty, for the cosmopolitan folk of Nochet probably have some appeal.
And I assume the river that we're on is fairly deep in the middle channel.
Yes, very deep. The stream and the creek are not that deep, but when they converge to the creek stream, they get deeper.
Are there any reeds on the boat? Anyone have brought any reeds on the boat?
Like reeds, like the pipes, you mean?
Long, thin reed tube.
Make a luck roll.
Just in case, end up in the water.
Ah,
No,
Oh, no.
there are no
There's
reeds on this
nothing of
boat.
the sort. Absolutely not. You ask about it, they were like, "Oh no, we got rid of anything like that." They definitely cleared the boat. They said,
Cleared the
"Don't
boat of
worry
that.
about a thing, sir. Nothing like that on this ship."
Fair enough.
Yeah, the captain seems quite proud of the fact that this is a reed-free vessel. Thank
Reed
you.
Freeman.
Yes. Now, Vasana, what are you doing? How are you spending the time?
Well, I figure I spend part of my time. I figure I spend part of my time when I'm above deck with my bison, making sure that she,
I think it is a she.
that she is comfortable, and it'll give me a vantage point to look around, be noticing, and I feel like I would be armed, not heavily armed, but armed. Maybe my broadsword with me.
Oh, sure,
I feel
yeah.
like I'm
I mean, Vasana without a sword is unthinkable.
right. I feel that way.
All right, yeah, and the bison, it's not happy. It's definitely finds the unsteady the deck to be a little disconcerting, and it's but you bond with your mount, and maybe you bring out a curry comb and brush it a little bit, and whatever you do to try to soothe it, it seems to do all right. Yes, some of the crew are a little they're a little surprised at having such a magnificent and yet gigantic beast on the in their hold, or their hold, and the few horses and mules and other animals that were brought along, including a few sheep, are all sort of eyeing the bison nervously, of course, being that it just utterly dominates the space. But yes, it'll be okay.
Okay.
All right. Is there anything else anyone would like to do while you're hanging, or shall I move us into the next phase?
I'll keep my bow handy and work on some arrows.
All right. You then, I will not bore you. Well, hopefully I won't bore you. I can't say I won't bore you because maybe you're bored to tears already. You pass down. The days pass very quickly. In fact, they though it is rather tedious, it goes quite well. You find yourselves going south through the Beast Valley, just looking at trees on either side, hearing the strange cries of creatures, and then you hit the morass of sort of a swampy delta area that's just south of Blackwell as the river turns. And then you go south of the new Crystal City. And then, which is, a pretty amazing city on its own. Let me see. Yeah, it's next to an old ruin, and it's apparently built out of nothing but crystals with spires of green, blue, red, yellow, and white, and built by the famed Balantar the Builder, the architect of most of Esrolia, a sort of a demigod of the age. And yeah, you can even though it's several miles inland, you can actually see it from the distance and the light shining from it, from its many spires. Pretty amazing sight. I wish I could show you a picture, but alas, I do not have one. And then the creek stream merges with the Lycos, and to the south, I'm going to drop another map into the Slack channel so that you can see what I'm talking about. All right. To the south, you find yourselves looking at the Shadow Plateau, which is this gigantic. Now you've just come from up north, and so you're going, or rather, you're merging in, and you find yourselves looking at the Shadow Plateau to the south of you, which is this enormous, almost a gigantic, like a mountain that's almost been sheared off, and it's dark. It's as if the weather itself over the Shadow Plateau seems to conform, and the time of day, it's just darkness looms over it. It is rumored to be a place where trolls and other malicious creatures dwell. Yes, it is in fact strongly influenced by the power of darkness, particularly the darkness room. And now you find yourself on the Lyxos River, and it's a little smoother. It's a deeper, faster moving river, and your pace picks up until the point where you keep going sort of southwest, and then it branches, and you continue to the south towards Valadon, which is quite a, by Sartorite standards, it's an amazing city, a gigantic city. By Esrolian standards, Sorala, you're like, it's kind of a dump. For the Sartorites, they're thinking, this is an amazing, unbelievable place. Look at that gigantic city there. There might even be 100,000 people there. It's so sprawling and so gigantic. And, you know, Nochet has easily 10 times that number. It's far more sophisticated, far more exciting. Valadon is like a backwater province that's mostly famous for their harvest festival. Oh, I see. If we've got a camera in motion here, I'm a little dizzy right now. All right. So then you find yourselves passing, or well, actually, you're probably going to set in Valadon for the afternoon. While cargo is both loaded and unloaded, there's some trading on the docks. If any of you would like to go off the ship, you can stretch your legs for a while. The captain tells you that they'll be there for 3 hours, which should be enough time to either stay out of trouble or get into trouble, depending on your taste. So what are you going to do in Valadon?
I would very much like some solid ground for a little bit.
All right.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind walking around a little bit as well, but we should definitely keep at least one person at all times in the room.
Who will that be
So-
then?
So do we want to, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'll take first watch. We want to split it by the hour, so we each have some time to stretch our legs.
I can do hour 2.
And I'll do hour 3.
Okay. So then those of you who go on to the docks, you can see that it is indeed not that great of a place. The buildings are, they're far more sophisticated than those you would find up in Sartor, but they're also a little shabbier. This is a very rustic city. It's not particularly nice, but the one thing that's great about it is in the middle of some sort of a spring festival. There's all kinds of flowers, garlands are everywhere. When you even get off the boat, some people run up to you with these like wicker baskets full of flower garlands and drape them over your shoulders. And they pass you wooden cups of beer and say, you know, welcome to Valadon. It is the festival of Erythra, and you know, it is the planting season. So here we drink that which was from our previous harvest, and we celebrate the new harvest to come. And you can see that there are a lot of farm type people who are in there, people who have very common garb, and they are all celebrating quite a lot. There's a lot of drunkenness. You pull in the mid-afternoon, and I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, the average drunkenness level in the city is probably 6 or 7. A lot of people sort of staggering around, and as this is a festival celebrating the new the new planting and whatnot, you can I leave it to your own imaginations to figure out what that else might entail. There are earth priestesses running around galore, cornucopias full of fruit and vegetables being passed. People you will just walk by on the street and someone will hand you an apple, or a pear to eat. It's pretty nice. A lot of bread. You can smell baked bread in the air. The results from the previous year's harvest. Everybody is sort of celebrating what you can. It's quite nice, actually.
Nice.
If you choose to do anything out of the ordinary, let me know.
Do they have any temples of Lancourma in the city?
They probably have a shrine. There is a temple of Erythra and a temple of Ernalda. And as Ernalda, is one of the chief goddesses, there will be a couple of smaller temples, but really Nochet is where the Temple of Lancourma is really, for Esrolia, the biggest temple of Lancourma is in Nochet. But there is undoubtedly a shrine, if you would like to worship.
Yeah, I'd like to stop by and pay my respects just for safety on our voyage.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, you go, and as a result, yeah, in the temple itself, they basically point you to the archives in the temple, which double as the Temple of Lancourma, the god of knowledge. And so you find yourself chatting with a scribe there who seems quite pleased to meet another scholar and another worshiper, and you have a pleasant and enough time. Vasana. This whole place, all of this revelry and whatnot reminds you quite a bit of your sister Yanioth, who is a assistant priestess of Ernalda herself. So, you see some of the Ernalda priestesses walking through with snakes draped over their shoulders, with all of their tattoos and their public nudity, and you're reminded of your headstrong sister, who, alas, was dealing with family issues and could not make it on this voyage. But what are you going to do?
I have no idea.
All right. Yeah, you can just enjoy things too. I mean, there's no requirement for you to do anything particular here. You can sort of, I think, enjoy
walk around and not look for trouble. Not.
Okay, right. And fortunately, there's a lot of this is a time of revelry, and the number of people who would be willing to cause trouble are at an absolute minimum. And so you find yourself, actually, if anything, you're more in danger of getting very drunk if you drink everything that people hand you. Yes, and Vasana, just as a reminder, you're not particularly large. You're in fact rather on the short side, and even though you're in excellent physical shape, you don't have a lot of body mass. So, a lot of drinking is probably going to, affect you pretty strongly. And this is a very, very powerful beer they're serving here, so you might want to keep that in mind.
Okay.
Harmast, how about you?
So, are there other boats that are here?
Yes.
Recently tied up?
There are.
I want to ask our captain if he knows any of the captains of the other boats who might have just come upstream.
He looks over and he says, "Well, I recognize the Sea Crasher over there," which is just a hilariously pretentious name for a riverboat. He says that's run by Captain Theros. And the others, I don't know. They look like, basically, they probably came from the main of the Lycos, which is perhaps the Crystal City. They have the colors of the Crystal City there, that ship. And he squints at the name and he says, it's in, that name is in some old draconic script. I don't know it particularly, but their banners seem to be a little strange.
Could
But
you
the others, what?
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, he says, but I don't know the rest.
Are you friends of Captain Theros?
He tilts his head. It's oftentimes hard to read a duck's expression because they just have a beak and whatnot. But he says we get along, and he leaves it
I'm
at
just
that.
okay. I'm just looking for an introduction. I want to go talk to Captain Theros.
All right, then he gives some orders to some of the crew that are taking care of things, and he walks over with you. He says, gestures and says, this way. And so you walk over and you find yourselves walking up the gangplank of a merchant ship. That as you get halfway up, somebody comes with a couple of baskets of stuff that they're unloading, and they sort of push you off to the side, and then you get up onto the deck, and a man steps forward. He's deeply, deeply tanned, and he's just covered with almost every tiny bit of his skin is covered with elaborate filigree tattooed onto him. It's almost like scrimshaw of the flesh. And to the point where, his head looks almost skull-like because just every little dark nook and cranny has tiny little runes squiggled and little decorative filigree, and he's just got nothing but a vest and some leather knee-high pants. And he says, hey there, Karka, how dare you come onto my ship? And Karka rolls his eyes at you and he says, Theros, permission to board. And he's like, granted. Have you come looking for work? You can't have any. And they banter, and you realize they've known each other for a while. And, friendly rivalry. I mean, they are both river traders. So there's a little bit of a, I don't know if I would say friendly rivalry, but definitely a rivalry. Maybe a little bit of respect.
Well, I tell the captain we're going downriver with a, and I'm wondering if he's encountered anything below that we should be especially concerned about.
Nothing. The bandits are quiet this time of year. They haven't grown so bold. Perhaps they're still living off their winter harvest. I don't know. It was quiet. I didn't see anything.
Does he seem to be telling the truth?
Yeah, he is, and you can tell from the way that the ship is rigged, they're definitely going north, or rather, they're rowing back upriver.
I point to the boat with the draconic script on it, and I say, you know anything about that boat?
Nothing at all.
Who might around here?
Well, you could talk to the harbor master.
Okay. Well, I thank him.
All right.
And since
Oh no, and Karka he's curious what you're up to.
And I don't mind that.
Okay. All right. Then so if you want to go chase down the harbor master, you can certainly do that.
Yeah,
right.
I will.
Okay then. Then Natham, what do you find yourself doing in this time?
Hang around for a few minutes. Our person of interest, has he wandered off the boat, or is he still on the boat?
He is still on the boat.
Okay. Well, I want to hang around near the dock. I'm not going to partake in anything in town. Just get some fresh air, steady land, and kind of watch the comings and goings from the ship and see if our friend talks to anybody, goes anywhere, or leaves.
Okay.
As unobtrusively as possible.
All right. Okay. And Vostor, you're sort of manning the room?
Yeah, if this would be his time for his hour that he was going to watch, then he'll be in the room, and basically probably pretty bored.
Okay. I'd like you to make a listen roll if you could.
61, and he has a listen of, where is it? Listen of 40, so he did not make that.
Okay. Yeah, you don't hear anything out of the ordinary, and in fact, you're hanging around there, and then you think you hear something outside the room for a moment. You go to the door, you look out. Doesn't seem to be anything. All right. Sorala, what are you doing in this time?
Well, let's see. I think I was going to head back to the ship after my discussion and make sure to take my turn at watching the treasure.
All right. Yeah, as you are heading back to the ship, you notice that fellow you spoke to, Soslanis. He is exiting the ship, in fact. He's actually coming out from the below, like from the main deck, the covered area where your quarters are and where the animals are kept. And he has a spring in his step, and he looks like a man with some purpose. And he speaks a word to a couple of the crew, and then heads down the plank right as you are heading up it. And he says, Sorala, what do you think of the fine city of Valadon, which I call home?
It's a very pleasant city with a very lively culture.
Well, if you find yourself in need of a guide, let me know.
Well, certainly.
Come. And he even tries to take your elbow, and he says there are a number of wonderful watering spots over there. There's a little on the dock. There's a little stand that sells some remarkable beer that's triple brewed, he says. And over there's a place. It's none of this clear wine, mind you, but it's a very nice a wine made of the first press.
Well, I can join you shortly. I have some business to attend to with my colleagues on the ship, but I'd be more than happy to stop by for one of these triple brewed beers.
Well, very well then. Yes, we've only got a little while though. You can find me down there. And he laughs and continues on.
Okay. We'll head back into the ship, into our stash room there.
All right. And then you relinquish the watch to Vosdor.
I'll let him know too that I ran into Soslanis. He's where he's going, just in case. But it should be a shame if we left without him. He seems like such a nice guy. They also have triple brewed beer.
Nice guy.
He's very friendly.
I'd say watch him. He's a little too friendly. So just be a little cautious. And don't let him in this room.
Well, that kind of goes without saying. No, I'd really be embarrassed if something happened to the treasure that we were bringing back to the Queen. Well, that would be on us.
Yes. I would hate to disappoint Argrath. Otherwise, it's been pretty quiet. I did think I heard something in the hallway, but nothing came of it. So it's been pretty quiet down here.
Yeah, there's been a lot of commotion around, so it wasn't particularly unusual.
Okay.
All right. So then I will actually, Harmast, you find yourself talking to the harbor master, who tells you that other than the fact that the ship's captain is named Telira, and she seems to be very tight with some dragon newts, and she's got a few in her crew, and the ship seems to have a weird lack of actually conventional. They don't have very many rowers, and they seem to be propelled under perhaps a wind that seemed a little unusual, and the fact that they were basically sailing upriver at a time where that didn't seem, when the weather didn't seem possible to do so. But he doesn't know much else about the ship. They're not there for trade.
So if they're not there for trade, is there any chance they're part of the pirates? Any rumors about that?
Seems that's a little interesting because he says that the woman, she's human. She came on board on a shore with at least one crested dragon newt, and he finds the notion of a dragon newt working with pirates to be rather unusual or even funny. Dragon newts are these sort of, they're a draconic race that they begin as humanoid and they go through multiple stages of evolution in which they vary dramatically and they transform physically in very severe ways. If they're killed at any point in this, they're reborn in some secret city they live in and have to start the process all over again. And then they eventually evolve into becoming actual dragons. And so they're generally after spiritual truth and experience. So he finds, he says, that would be very strange for them to be connected to the river pirates. That ship doesn't look like it's much for piracy. And yeah, it's a very frail ship compared to the wave dancer that you were on. And it definitely doesn't look like the sort, if one were to sail up next to a ship and try to board it, would be a disaster for them.
So she and the Dragon Newt came into town today or recently?
Oh, several days ago. They're doing their own thing.
So is she back on her boat, you think?
He shrugs. It's her business where she is.
I'm going to go over to the boat and just say hello.
All right. Okay. So time is going as you do. You see that eventually the anyone who's close to the docks notices that the wave dancer is now beginning to take on some more cargo rather than offloading the stuff they had. Whatever deals are being made have been concluded. Money is being passed around. Credit notes are being exchanged and whatnot. And before too long, the ship will be readying its voyage out. Harmast, you walk up to the ship. It's a very fine ship. The sails seem to be made of some kind of very thin, it's either waxed cloth or something almost like heavy vellum and very ornate. The ship is rigged in a particularly unusual fashion. And it's a very high and narrow bodied ship. And it seems to be have a minimum of oars. And yes, there is the ramp, as it were, is there, and you don't see anyone on the deck.
I'll hail the boat.
All right. Yeah, the name seems to be, like I said, it's in Draconic script, so it's hard to identify. I mean, you don't speak Draconic, I would guess.
No.
Maybe Sarala does, but you don't know any. But you shout at the ship. What are you saying?
Hello, the boat. I'm Harmast of the clan. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. Colmar. And I'm interested in saying hello. And I think I'll get in, if I get any response at all, I'll start talking about trade. But I don't know if there's anyone there.
Okay. As a matter of fact, you shout, and then eventually a head sort of looms out from inside the cabin. There's a main cabin on the deck. It's a lot more what our modern conceptions of what a ship would be like, with actual cabins and whatnot, as opposed to a big open deck plan with sort of recessed partitioned off areas, and this head pops out, and it is very much almost the head of a dragon itself. It's got a bunch of crests coming off in bright ornate colors that just ripple across its scales. Huge black eyes sort of focus on you, and this body emerges from behind that head, easily 2 meters or more tall, and a long twitching tail behind, harness over its body. It's not wearing any clothes, and weapons that seem to be made out of maybe obsidian and bronze, hanging from it. And it looks at you and says in very, very accented trade speech, "What do you want, human?"
Is your captain aboard? I would speak with her.
Captain. And he gives a weird sound in his snout that you think might be a laugh, and he yells, "Captain!" in the hall. And this woman comes out a bit later. She's very tanned. Her hair is or her head rather is shaved very, very short, and she's wearing a sort of a dress out of some kind of scaled material. And she says, what's happening? And she looks at you and she says, "Who are you? What is this? We've paid for our passage. What could you
No,
want?"
I'm not with the harbor. I'm a harmaster of the Colomar. I'm traveling the river. I'm going
"Well,
south.
good for you," she says, and she looks at you, sizes you up. "And is it a tradition of your people to announce such things? I
No,
expect others. It's a
no,
first."
it's possible, but probably not today. I wanted to bother you because I wasn't sure if you had come up from downriver.
No, we're coming from the north.
Okay.
Or rather, the west, from the Lixos.
Always interested in trade, my people, and so I.
Ah, yes, Issaries. She sort of gestures at, where you've probably got some, harmony runes tattooed upon your body. And you might even have a symbol of Issaries somewhere there. And so, yes, I'm scanned out of things to trade with, I'm afraid. We're not really here on that sort of a mission.
Oh, but do you trade? Would you trade at some point in time if you're not on a mission?
Look me up when things are a little less serious, and perhaps we can talk. And she sort of gives you a half smile and a wink, and you're not entirely sure if you're being mocked or flirted with. And she says,
And that's
"Is there
fine.
anything else, Harmast of the clan Kolimar?"
No, thank you. What's your name?
"Ah, I am Talira. That's all."
Very, very nice to meet you, Tamira.
Yes.
And the only thing I wanted to do while I was up there, though, was also kind of look at the boat. You've already described it to me, but if I see anything else.
It's magnificent. It's painted. It's got some magnificent woodwork. I mean, it's definitely not a traditional Sartarian riverboat, as it were. And she points at the other, the dragon newt that she's with, and she says, "And this deals with barbarians." That's how the name translates. And he looks at her and then just shrugs and goes back into the ship. Forgive him. He's still learning manners. Perhaps in his next stage, he'll catch some.
I'm sure he'll be quite impressive, which he already is. And then I'll take my leave.
Okay, and then at that point, you also hear a little bell ringing, and you realize, oh, the time has flown. It's time for the wave dancer to take off. And yeah, the captain, Karka, he's banging on the bell, and anyone who is associated with the ship should probably get there as quickly as possible because they'll be sailing soon. And with that, you, I would assume everybody heads back to the ship. All right. Yes. And Sarala, as you find yourself, or actually, no, Sarala, you're on the ship. I would say Vasana or Natham, as you make your way back, you see Saslanis coming back, and he's definitely a bit unsteady. And he's got a few bags over his shoulders that look like some stuff that he didn't have when he left the ship, for anyone who saw him leave. And he gives you a big smile, heads up the ramp, lets any of you go first. It's very polite.
I'll ask him about it looks like he had a fine time.
Yes, very, very wonderful. Here, and he reaches into one of these bags over his shoulder, and he pulls out a little some folded papyrus, and he says, "For you and your friends," and he hands you this little bundle.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, it's like a big square of papyrus, or actually probably just a leaf that's been folded over and tied with a little string. And it smells smoky. And with that, then, once everybody is back on board, the ship begins to sail. Or rather, it's sailing, pushes out with the oars to steer away from the harbor, and then heads out down the river. I think that according to the schedule, it's about time to take a very quick biological break for anybody that needs it. Anyway, we're entering Act 2, which I have called The Storm. As you can imagine, there is a storm. We cut to immediately. I'm just going to jump you into in media res. In the hours since you left Valadon, the sky has darkened and the river became increasingly choppy to the point where it's actually rocking the ship quite a bit. The thunder is crackling. The storm clouds have rolled in, and wind is actually whipping to the point where it's quite the storm happening. Any of you seem to, I mean, especially Vasana would know, as an initiate of Orlanth, who is the storm god, the prototypical storm god of Sartar. This seems very much, it's not a, it was not an average storm. It's not expected. What that means, who knows? But definitely it seems a bit unseasonal. What that means, though, is that the ship is rocking a lot. I would like each of you to make a con ×5 roll to see how you handle the Vostor. I think you made a spectacular, or not Vostor,
Sarala.
Natham made a critical roll with his con ×5 roll, and so you don't need to try again. But everyone else, I would like you to make a con ×5 roll to see how you're handling this sudden uncharacteristic thing. And I think everybody who has rolled has succeeded so far.
Yeah.
17, 15, 22. Great. No one is, full of sickness. Nobody is sickened by the rough passage, except for, it looks like, our very friend Saslanis, who is, in fact, at the edge of the rail, just perhaps leaving all of his triple brewed beer, returning it to the river Lixos. And yes, the ducks and the humans on board the boat are trying to tie everything down and lash everything. And, any of you who have traveled on rivers, which is, I think Sarala definitely has, Vostor has a little bit, Harmast some, Vasana not so much, Natham hardly at all. This is really unusual for a ship voyage because rivers just don't get that choppy generally. And As you're going, everybody is, a little bit disoriented by the amount of the violent movement of the waters. I would like each of you to make either a scan or a listen roll as you see fit.
Fail.
Okay, so yeah, just tell me each how you did on the roll. So success or fail, and tell me what skill you rolled. So I'll just go
So
around the
Vostar,
room. So Rolf, what's that? Vostar, how'd you do?
Vostar rolled a 24 of 65 scan.
Okay, yes, you noticed that. Yeah, it's really crazy, and it looks like a few things from the upper decks have actually been swept overboard. A few of the bales of various goods, and there's a little bit of an attempt to try to catch them with hooks. Are you helping at all? What are you doing?
Sure. Yeah. If I have a chance, I'll grab like a gaff stick or whatever and try to help the crew in trying to either retrieve or keep things in place.
Okay,
I assume probably not Voster, but one of us is probably in the room.
who knows? You tell me
I'll-
who it is.
I'll stay in the room.
Okay, Harmast, you're in the room. And yeah, you are being tossed around. The stuff, I mean, careful stacks of it, put away, put on, are just, most of the stuff is on the floor at this point. It's pretty ridiculous. I should say, yes, so Vostar, you're able to, you grab some rope, you grab a gaff hook, and you're able to rescue a few things, fish some barrels out of and some bales out of the water before they drift too far away. And you get some very appreciative glances and backslaps from members of the crew who are very happy to see you, even though you're pretty intimidating looking and you're clearly a former Lunar. They're quite happy to see you to helping them out in this time of need. Natham, what are you doing?
Got a 59 out of 60, so just barely on a scan.
Okay, so yeah, you notice that Ceslanis is he's lingering near the rail. Of course, he just went straight from being sick with the storm to then he's sort of hanging around nearby, and there's a point where he almost looks like he's going to be swept overboard. And a huge wave just comes up and hits him and sends him sprawling to the point where he looks like he's going to actually slide over the like off the deck onto into the water.
Can I grab him, secure him?
Sure. Make a Dex ×5 roll if you could, and let me know if you want to augment that with anything before you do so.
Let's augment it with the movement room.
Okay.
The movement is 90.
All right. Yeah.
Mm.
So just barely.
Yeah.
So yeah, add 20 to your Dex ×5 roll.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he nearly goes overboard, and then you grab him by his belt and yank him back onto the deck, and he seems really surprised. He like looks up and he's soaking wet, and he's just thank you, and he like actually embraces you. He's shivering wet and still pretty drunk, and hopefully
We'll extract him and put him somewhere safe.
Okay, yeah. Hopefully he didn't get any sick on you, but he seems to be definitely grateful. I would like you to make an insight roll, though, if you could. Okay, yeah, you get him squared away. He seems pretty thankful. He keeps thanking you over and over again, like, oh, and he seems really, really drunk. So perhaps he's not at his best there. Sarala, what are you doing in the midst of this terror?
Well, I guess mostly not seeing or hearing anything, since I failed that roll. I'm just going to, is this the sort of thing, or is there any way I could tell, like, if this is a magical storm?
That is a good question. Let me look at your character sheet very quickly and tell you what skill you might be able to bring to bear on that. I've got the book right here. I'm going all lo-fi where I actually have the physical copy of the rules in my hand. Sarala, you would, how about if you make a homeland lore Esrolian?
Okay.
Oh, no, you don't notice anything particularly unusual about this storm. It does seem out of season, but you don't notice anything supernatural about it or anything. All right. Vasana, I have unfortunate news for you. Your bison, who actually, if I remember correctly, you can decide this is not true for this particular instance, but when I asked the player who is Vasana's character, or rather, Vasana is her character. I said, "What's your bison's name?" She told me the name is Curly, so because it has thick curly hair, so or fur rather. So you can decide whether or not you like that name for your bison. But your bison is very, very upset. It does not like being at storms. It does not like being on a boat in a storm, which is doubly horrible. And it is roaring, basically, and terrifying the rest of the animals in the little sort of the area set aside for the mounts. So what are you doing? Like whatever you were doing beforehand, you hear your animal making that noise above, and it just cuts above all other noise. And it seems really, really frightened.
Yes,
And,
I made a successful listen roll.
Okay, yeah, you hear that definitely. So what are you doing about that?
Well, I'm sure that I would do whatever I could to appease my animal. I just, let's see. I don't know, what type of thing could I do to appease my animal?
You would use your ride skill to try to calm it and basically make it behave so that it doesn't go nuts. Your ride is basically animal handling as well. That's sort of subsumed into that.
Okay. So roll for ride?
Yes. Yeah, it would be better than herd, which would be another skill you might try if you didn't have ride. But your ride is pretty much the best way to go. Now you could augment that with another, like a rune beforehand or a passion, but it would have to be something relevant to the occasion. Actually, I'm looking at your runes and I don't think any of them really jumps out as an appropriate one. So just make a roll of your. Oh, did you already make the roll? I think I saw.
I'm sorry, I did it. Yeah.
Oh, no trouble at all. All right, great. Yes, you succeeded though in calming your bison. It's like very, very wild-eyed and nervous and stomps a lot. And a couple of the other the sailors and rowers are all sort of surrounding it, trying to help make sure that it's not going to go berserk and perhaps break free and cause a lot of trouble. But you managed to get it under control. Back in the rear cabin, Harmast, you are there watching stuff, and you know everything is kind of on the floor. You hear a bunch of thumping around, stomping from up above on the next level, shouts. You hear that roar of the the bison. Oh God, the bison. You know that sound. And then there's a creak and a crash, and the window. It's more just a wooden shutter with the slats, bursts open, and water just gushes in to the chamber, like a lot of it, and a very thick gout of water comes in. What are you doing?
So they're just slats. Even if I push them back into place, it's not going to keep the water out, right?
You could try, but it's not watertight.
Is there? Yeah. How deep is the water in the room?
It would be a foot or two. I mean, it's just splash. There's a little water splash. The ship jerks again, and there's more water.
I want to stay more than arm's length away from the window, and whatever the most valuable bag of stuff is, I'm grabbing a hold of that and my broadsword.
All right. Yes, you
And
a what?
My broadsword.
Okay.
Is there any? Is there any chance I can sense anything magical in nature? Does it seem like the way the boat moved that it would be appropriate that a wave would have hit from that side at that point in time?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
The boat turned, and then water came in the way the boat was tilted. So yeah, it seemed very natural that would happen. But I would also like you to the candle or tiny oil lamp you had lighting the room is probably extinguished in that. I would like you to make a scan roll for me.
Not very good at that. 96. Okay. I don't think I'm seeing anything.
Okay. Yeah, you look around, you grabbed a bag that, it was a leather bag that you know for a fact was full of several small pouches of pearls and emeralds and a variety of pieces of jewelry that looked like they might fit a woman. And there was even a beautiful ivory doll that had been sort of carved and jointed. And so the sort of thing one might give a child. And he, emphasized that this was something that was really important to, so that of the things Argrath handed you, this was probably the one that he seemed the most excited about. And you've got that bag in your hand, you've got your broadsword around, you are looking around, hearing all these shouts, and you feel something move against your leg. Like something that seems to be moving on its own rather than just one of these things floating at the top of the water or sliding. It feels very soft, like something hits your leg and sort of wraps around it a little and then starts moving in the water again. What are you doing?
That's not good. I am going to take a swing at the thing in the water.
Okay, so you can't see it because with that roll, you have a spectacularly poor chance. So it would be half of your attack chance. You're basically striking in the dark. Now you can try to augment with a rune or a passion if you feel that you would like to, if you can think of something appropriate.
So, yes, I don't think any of my runes, my darkness rune is 20%. So I'm in darkness.
You don't really want to fail an augment roll.
You don't want to fail an augment, yeah.
So I would say,
I'll take the half roll with the broadsword because honestly, I'm pretty good with it. So.
Okay, cool. All right, then make your roll.
Come on.
Let's see what happens.
20.
Whoa. All right, and I'm looking at the character sheet I have, and Harmas is 100 with his broadsword, correct?
Yep.
So
that's
half
correct.
is 50. So you actually do manage to, you just plunge your sword into the water, point first, and you hit something. I would like you to roll your damage, which is 1d8 plus 1 plus 1d4, and you'll have to roll the 1d4 separately. So just type /roll 1d8 plus 1, and then d8 plus 4. So wow.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. That is 11 points of damage. Okay. I need to make a... excellent. Wow. Yes, you stab deeply into something and it thrashes. You like actually might have even pinned something to the ground. You did 11 points of damage in one stab, which was pretty amazing. And that was on the strike rank. Strike rank is 6.
6.
So yes. So then a moment later, something tries to bite at you.
Darn it.
Yes. It actually succeeds. Oh my God. It had a very low chance. You get bitten in your left leg for 7 points of damage, which is
I'm on my, yep, I'm down.
Okay, yeah. So you're suddenly like, something lashes around and bites at you, and your body just folds under the pain from that. So if you want to like scream out or yell or anything, totally maybe advisable. I don't know.
Absolutely. So when I stuck it,
Yes.
does it seem like whatever I stuck is still stuck on the sword into the planking of the room?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
going to leave.
Impaled something and stuck it all the way, pinned it to the ground.
That I'm going to leave. I'm not going to try to withdraw the sword from the floor.
Okay.
What I am going to try to do, well, is how quickly can I quaff a potion of healing? Because I have some of those.
You could do that at the beginning of the next round.
Okay, that's what I'll do.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to assume that it's within hand's reach of you. You're just like, you know where it is. You keep these probably in your belt pouch or whatnot. Yeah. All right. Do you do anything to alert anyone else?
Oh, I yell. I'm under attack.
All right.
King's goods.
Let's see then. Sorala, since we haven't dealt with you, you are, I'm just going to say, you're actually near the room, and you hear Harmas scream in pain and yell in alarm about something.
I run into the room and grab my sword.
Okay, yeah. You open the door. The hallway is full of water. Like the whole lower deck, the ground level deck has actually got a lot of water splashing around on it with things moving back and forth. It's causing, the bisons and the mounts a bit of concern. And yeah, you see Harmast. He's lying half in the water. The water is just red with blood, and his sword is stuck into, like, hilt upright into the deck, and something is sort of thrashing around. It's you can see it's got some kind of a weird semi-translucent body, and and it seems you get a sense of there's almost like a hideous face that reflects in the light that shines through the window as it does so, or as it moves. What are you doing?
Okay, let's see. I have a rune spell. Is Analyze Magic. Would that be of assistance in this point?
Probably not. Okay. It's more of a study type spell. It's something that you would use if you were trying to determine the nature of a particular magical enchantment or whatnot. It's not the kind of a spell you would throw in the middle of a combat to try to get an insight into a creature's nature or whatnot.
Okay. In this case, then I'm going to just try to run up and put myself between my companion and this creature to protect him and try to stab it with my sword.
Okay, I'm actually keeping track of strike ranks, so it is going to lash out at you because I think, what is your strike rank?
Let's see.
It would be SR on your character sheet for your
The
broadsword.
broadsword, it's 5.
Oh, so you two act simultaneously. The thing lashes out. It looks like it stretches its body, hideously malforming. And Harmast, you get a good look at it at this point. It's some kind of a weird gelatinous blob type creature with this long, misformed mouth and a couple of eyes that seem to slide over its body. Hideous at all. And it like practically bursts out of the water with the sword still sort of stuck into its body mass, and it snaps at Sorala. It misses her, though.
Let's see. I got, I rolled an 82, so my broadsword is 70%. So
Okay.
I guess recoiling in terror at this weird alien creature throws my aim off.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be terror. Also, the fact that you're on a pitched deck and water splashing around, and you were definitely not expecting to see some kind of weird sea monster thing, with a mouthful of blood from your friend Harmast. And at that point, we get to strike rank 6. Harmast, what are you doing?
So what I wanted to do was try to take the healing potion, and then I'm going to go for my dagger.
All right, Harmast, you let me see the modifiers for that actually. That's not the thing. No, strike rank modifier. So your dex strike rank is pretty good, if I recall correctly. It's
Yeah,
2.
my dex strength rank is 1. I've got an 18.
Oh, 1. You're blindingly fast. Yes. So you will be able to drink a potion on strike rank 3. So I am assuming you have done that now?
Yeah, roll a d10.
Yeah.
2. Not
Okay,
particularly
so
strong.
it didn't heal you that much, but yeah, it's I think as a matter of fact, your leg is still injured to the point where you can't walk on it.
It's still a 0. Yep. But I'll go to the dagger and try to, I guess, roll over on my stomach and stab it.
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, or you can be on your side. You've got a little bit of movement there. You're not completely crippled. All right, make a roll to attack with your dagger. That'll happen late in the round.
I missed.
Okay, you thrash around, and unfortunately, in all the chaos and confusion, it's difficult for you to strike it. Natham, what are you doing? You heard the scream and this thrash. What's that?
Okay. I'm assuming I heard the cry for help.
Yes. At this point, everyone who's heard it, everybody who would like to do something about it can react.
Okay, head down below decks. Can I get there this turn, or just this action getting there?
I would say you're able to come in at the end of that round, and you see what you see Sorala sort of at the doorway, looking surprised, holding on to the frame of the door, and then Harmast lying there in the water, blood everywhere, and this weird creature sort of thrashing and snapping this crazy malformed mouth at him, and he's holding a dagger. The treasure is just strewn all over the room, some of it floating, some of it piled up in corners. The window has been just caved in. The slats that held it are sort of hanging loosely. And there you go.
Okay. Can I use a heal 1 to try to help Harmast?
Okay, so I'm going to ask basically everyone what they intend to do this round, and I'm going to move us into proper strike rank territory where I start counting down strike rank by strike rank. Okay, so strike rank 1, here's where rune magic starts to happen. So if anyone is casting any rune spells, 1 is where they will probably occur. Anyone?
Just need spirit magic.
Okay, so then that would be your 1 plus however many magic points you're using, plus your, I think your dex roll as well.
Yeah.
Use 3.
Okay, so yeah, you'll go on, what's your dex rank?
Dex is a 17. So strike rank
Okay.
2. Or strike rank 1,
All right.
sorry.
Yeah. Since you hadn't prepared the spell, so to speak, it'll use your dex rank. So yeah, we'll say +3 and 0, 1. You'll go on I think 5, is it? 5.
Okay.
I'm trying to do math in my head. Very, very difficult. All right, we'll say 5. All right, so Vasana, what are you doing?
I will make my way there as well. Am I there, or was I making my way this last round and I'm there?
You're literally like within 5 meters from it, 5 yards away. It's just right there. It's a narrow corridor. Up in front are the animal pens, and then there are 2 or 3 actually 4 cabins behind that. So it's just literally like running down a corridor.
Okay. Well, yes, I will fight. And since I'm not actually there to see and plan.
All right. Yeah, you come in, you see Natham standing there leaning over Harmast and everything that I described earlier. Yes.
Yeah.
And what's your strike rank?
For my broadsword, it's 7.
Okay. So I'll just count down, and as soon as you hit 7, unless you're going to cast any magic or anything before that, then 7 is when you will act.
I read that
strike rank.
I'm
What's that?
sorry.
No,
You
no.
can use rune magic to augment.
You could use a rune specifically, not rune magic.
Okay. So like
Yeah,
I could use air rune to augment the broadsword strike.
In fact, I believe that is exactly the rune you would use, because
Well, that was the one example in the book.
yes, the sword is the weapon associated with the air rune. So yes, you would use that.
Okay. That's what I plan to do whenever it's my turn.
Okay, so cool. Then yeah, so why don't you make the rune roll first? Why don't we make it now and then see what happens? I'm watching the little dice roller here. Oh, perfect. Yes, as a matter of fact, I think with your 90 air rune, it's actually a special success. So you'll add 30 to your broadsword chance whenever you get to swing. All right.
Okay.
So keep that in mind. Plus 30. Very good. All right. We're on strike rank 2. Anyone? 3.
Volster is going to react as well, and he's going to as soon as he hears Harmast yelling, he is going to he will drop whatever he is doing, and he will head down the corridor to assist.
Okay, yeah, you arrive and you see there's a pandemonium here. Everyone's crowding in the room. Bloody water splashes out. There's a lot of blood. Harmast, you're just, you're lying in water and you took a huge bite. So yes, a lot of blood, a lot of yelling and just grunts and whatnot and splashing around. What do you plan on doing when you arrive?
So assuming that I drew my compass on the way down the corridor, I will, if there is room to engage, if I see that there's some sort of creature that they're engaged in and there is room for me to get into the room and engage as well, I will. Otherwise, I will try to go to Harmast's aid.
All right, so you would need to make a Dex ×5 roll to sort of maneuver your way through the door and get to the thing, given that everyone else is sort of crowding the same area.
Sure.
Totally fine if you want to do that. What is your strike rank as well?
Strike rank with the sword is 6.
Okay, so then if you make the successful roll, you'll be able to strike on 6.
No.
Ooh, no. Yeah, you get there and yeah,
Get caught up.
everybody is just, they're all in your way. It's
Yeah.
it's just too many people, too much crowdedness. All right,
Okay.
we get to strike rank 4. Anyone? Anyone? Strike rank 5. 5? 5? Anyone? Anyone?
I got.
Heal.
I just want to try to maneuver in front of the window to cut off this thing's escape.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you can just automatically move. No trouble at all.
Okay, then
Yeah,
if
you
it like
move over
comes
there.
towards me, I'm gonna stick it.
All right. It seems to be still pinned from where Harmast stuck it, but we'll see what happens. All right. Strike rank 6. Anyone?
Don't I heal Harmast on strike rank 5?
Oh yeah, 5. So okay, so make your POW times 5 roll. Yeah, I apologize. I tend to just go through the strike ranks really, really fast. And so, all right. And what was your
That was
what's
15.
your
So
Oh yeah, plenty. Okay, so how much you were going to throw 3 points of healing? So Harmast, you have now had 3 points of magical healing applied to your leg wound. So you're
Yay.
feeling much better now, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, you could even get up and move around. All right. Strike rank 6. Anyone? Strike rank 7. 7. Oh, it's going to be a
swing.
magical time. All right, you guys pick who goes first.
Harmast is right there. He can go first.
Okay, Harmast.
So it's stuck.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard for it to move. I want to stab just up from my broadsword.
Okay.
I mean,
All
there
right.
it is. So I'm going to try to jam my dagger as hard as I can into whatever is just up from that broadsword. Pinning.
All right.
I don't know if that's going to change my roll, but here comes. I don't really have a rune I can think of, not in this situation. So,
Just make the
although
roll.
I guess air, since air is working, I've got.
Well, air it doesn't really apply to daggers, and it's also more, yeah, like there are certain things that are associated. I think you did succeed though with your.
I did. That's a success.
Okay. All right. It doesn't dodge, and I will need you to just make a damage roll for me.
So a D4 plus 1 plus a D4.
Okay.
6, 7 points.
Isn't it plus 2? Yeah, it's plus 2. So.
Oh, it's plus 2. Oh.
So 8 points. You stab into it, and you're pretty sure, like you sink a blade into it, and it sort of thrashes, and you think you might have killed it. It like suddenly thrashes and then goes limp and sort of floats around.
That's good. Is it visible now? Is it more visible now that it's
Well, you
dead?
you just screwed up your roll so spectacularly to see it that you just missed it completely. It's not invisible. It's just
Okay.
a dark kind of semi-translucent thing. And so at this point, we are moving out of strike rank range. So everybody else, your adrenaline sort of pauses as you notice, and the ship continues to rock and splash, but the thing doesn't seem to do anything more. It's clearly dead. And so after a short while, I mean, what are you each doing in the meantime? Please tell me.
I'm
I
gonna
was
try
gonna
to.
stand.
Oh, one at a time. All right.
I was going to go stand by the window and just make sure that with no more water comes in, nothing floats out, that sort of thing. Just try to kind of stand guard at the window, so to speak. Just making sure none of the treasure disappears through the window.
Okay.
How to secure said treasure.
Yes.
All right. Yes. Vasana?
Is it only this room? What about our adjoining rooms? I'd like to check our adjoining rooms to make sure.
Okay. Yeah, you open them up, and in one of them you see a a couple of the other passengers, they are clutching to each other in terror. But you don't see any other like monsters or anything like that. And yes, some of the rooms are full of water as well, but none of them seem to have broken in windows.
And this is just a curiosity question. So I rolled for the air rune and it was successful. Then I didn't have to fight. So I still lose the rune point and then.
Oh, no, you don't spend any points when you evoke a rune. So you're fine. It's only when you cast rune magic. Like you basically were inspired by the rune, but that doesn't mean that you spent any points to use a spell or anything. You only spend points when you cast a spell.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you're all set. The power of Orlanth is in you. You're ready to smite something. Your rune sword, your sword is charged with this energy. You're all excited, but alas, there is no immediate target. So you'll probably feel a little frustrated that you didn't get to whack something with your sword.
Yes.
Right.
That's why I went looking for other things to try to fight.
Yeah. Alas, okay, let me. No, you don't see anything else. Sad to say. Although, make a spot roll if you could, or a scan roll, I should say. Spot is another version of the system. Oh, yes. Excellent. So, you actually do. You open one of the other cabin doors, and you see Cislenus. He is standing at the window, and like it looks like one of these creatures is pulling at him. Like he's got a weird expression on his face, and he almost looks like he's being pulled out the window by one of these creatures. And it just suddenly envelops his head, and you can't even see his face. It's like this huge blob of grayish, translucent jelly with weird little appendages that stick out, and this huge, enormous mouth, and it sort of just sloops over his head and his shoulders and is pulling him out the window. And you can see his facial like his features actually pressed up against its face. If this were Call of Cthulhu, I would say make a sanity roll, but as Sandy Peterson is fond of saying, everyone in Glorantha is probably insane by Call of Cthulhu standards. So, but yeah, it's definitely a little startling. And you see he's actually his feet go up in the air and are kicking a little bit.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to grab him, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, you run.
Stab it?
What's that?
I said, I don't know if I would try to grab him or if I have my sword out ready to fight, if I would actually just try to...
Grab or stab. Make a decision. Stab or grab.
You said it's big. I could get it without...
Yeah, it's actually pretty big. It's bigger than human size, in fact. This particular one. The one in the other room was a little smaller.
I'm going to stab.
All right. You step forward, and you've got basically, unless I'm reading the numbers wrong, you've got something like 120 on your broadsword skill.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Broadsword, 90 plus 30, yeah. So make a roll. All right. It is not a critical, or it's not a critical, and it's not a special success, but you definitely hit. So I would like you to make a D8 plus 1 plus 1d4 roll. So that would be a D8 and then a D4 roll. And add 1. All right. So 8 for the 1. That's pretty good. And
did I do it right?
9. Yes, you actually did it right. You got a 9, and then add another to that. So that would be, I think that's correct. No, wait. 8 plus 1 is 9. And then the reason, just do a roll 1d4 and add that to that. Okay, so yeah, you stab deeply at it and it thrashes and sort of swarms, kind of trying to get away from the stinging bronze blade. And yeah, it doesn't make any noise, but it thrashes at you a little bit. And in fact, 2 strike ranks later, it tries to bite at you. So watch out.
I feel like I'm being noisy. I'm going to be noisy. I'm going to yell so that everybody else knows.
All right. Yeah. So Vasana yells, and you can hear there's a ah, or whatever you yell. It maybe doesn't sound like a ah, but it definitely, maybe it's a war cry you give out. And
yes,
everyone
definitely.
would definitely know that.
Certainly have to come to her aid.
Yes.
Yep.
Bug in my drain piss is typical this time of year in Berlin. All right, these nasty fruit flies are just everywhere. All right, so yes, everyone, you hear Vasana give a war cry and hear her grunt as she takes a swing at something.
I'm running to help.
Yep.
All right. Yes, then we begin a new round. I'm going to start on strike rank 1 again. And then you can move pretty much up to your movement rate as a free action. And since you're all within the movement range, you're just literally down the hallway from that. There's everyone can move for free. So strike rank 1, unless anybody's casting rune magic, nothing probably going to happen. Strike rank 2, 3, 4, 5.
Grab Sislanis.
All right, yeah. You run into the room, you see him, he's like his head and one of his arms is out the window. He's engulfed by this giant blob of glop that seems to have this huge crooked mouth, and part of that mouth was actually stretched out as if it were trying to bite at Vasana. And yeah, you grab him by the legs, I assume?
Yes.
Okay, and I would like you to make a strength resistance roll for me. So I'm going to check here for Sorala's strength. Not high. All right. So make a percentage dice roll for me, and I will tell you if you are successful. You will a lot low. Your chances not great.
Can I boost my strength with a rune?
Sure, or a passion, depending on what you can, let's see, let me look at her passions. She doesn't really have any that seem to apply other than, because this guy, he's just a stranger on a boat. He's not loyal to your queen or anything like that.
Yeah, if it was the man rune, since it would be human over monster.
All right. I'll give you that.
Let's see. So, rolling. Oh, I got a 1.
Whoa.
Wow. So add 50% to your chance.
Wow.
You guys have hacked the dice roller. I'm convinced of that. I've seen so many criticals. It's absurd.
Okay, 48 on my resistance.
Yeah, you had a base unmodified 15. But with the plus 50, you now are able to, and you managed to just yank with the crazy success there, inspired by your refutal of that which is not human. You drag this poor man out of the mouth of the beast, and he collapses to the ground of the cabin, splashes in the water. He's covered with some kind of translucent slime, and he looks a bit wild-eyed and crazy. Definitely very surprised at this turn of events. And then we move to strike rank 6. Anyone?
Yeah, Voster strikes in 6. He's going to now that the creature is free of what it was trying to consume. I'm going to go ahead and hack at the creature and try to
sure.
interpose myself between Harmast and it.
Okay. Protect Harmast.
Yes.
So I don't think I'm in the room. Just to
No,
let you know.
you're in the other room. Yeah, you're like, what? I'm not going into another room. Come on. All right. So yes,
So that's a 9 out of an 80. I believe that's a special.
that is indeed a special success. So what you will do is for Vostor with his Copus, I believe that does 1d8 plus 1 damage. So
yeah,
you're basically going to roll a d8 plus 10 and then a d4.
Okay, so that's 18.
And yeah, I mean,
and 1, so 19.
yes, you whack at the thing, and whatever you did, you slash it so deeply it just comes apart, and whatever it had inside it just deposits itself inside the room. It's a terrible stench emerges, and this just ghastly, glistening, half-transparent blob of guts just empties itself probably over poor Ceslanis, who's lying there on the floor with Sarala holding his legs. And he's just covered with this just nasty stuff. And it is definitely dead at this point. Yeah, and
Excellent.
some part of it slides back into the like out the window with the water, and then it is quiet again. And as you realize, the rocking of the ship slowly subsides, and the storm sort of begins to fade in the distance, and it grows still on the Wave Dancer. What are you doing now?
I'll jest. Basana, you want to find some more trouble for us to interpose?
I think maybe with the calming of the waves that the trouble has left, but obviously I do think we should check the ship and passengers and just to be sure.
Yes. I'm going to head actually across the hall back into the storage room we've created, since I realize now we've probably left it unguarded.
Well, no,
I'm going to make my
Harmast,
way.
I think, was still in there. I don't think Harmast left.
Yeah, I never left the room.
Excellent.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to, then we can make our way through the ship and make sure everybody else is okay and whatnot.
Is Harmast okay? I know he was injured, but is he stable? His leg injury.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he's had 5 points of healing, so yeah, he's just a little scratched up. His leg is clearly soaked in. Well, he's beautiful. His lovely tunic and his leggings are probably all torn and ripped, and he's probably still got a little bit of a wound showing, but he's not, hosing blood out the way he was earlier.
It's okay. He's a working noble.
Yes, he'll live, as they say.
Once we have the treasure secured, I'm going to grab my bow and head above decks and make sure everything on the top side's secured as well.
All right.
Tell the captain.
Yes. Yeah, he looks at you all. He comes down and he's like, what's happening? I heard shouts. The people say something came out the window. What's going on?
These creatures, I've never seen them before. These creatures came in and attacked both us and your other passenger here.
Is he alive?
Well, poke at Ceslanis, see
Yeah,
if he's
and
still alive.
he says, actually, Ceslanis calls out, barely. And he looks like he's in the worst of all possible shape. He's just covered with the slimy guts of whatever this thing was that you killed. He looks thoroughly miserable, and he sits down and he's shivering and shaking and almost looks like he's about to cry. Um,
I'm gonna take hold of my my belt buckle and cast a healing 2 into him.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. All right. Yes. Then make your roll for that. That's a spirit magic spell, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, no. I think I lost those magic points.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, you did. So, yes, the dwarf grins, but then does nothing, and you just feel like, oh, dang
He
it.
is unworthy.
Yes, definitely seems so. All right. Yes, though. You know, he looks miserable. He looks kind of sick, and he says, "What was that thing? What was that?"
Something unfriendly for sure. Here, let me try this again. And I'm gonna try again to heal him. 78. I think I have a 75. Yeah, I think I have a 75. I think I just missed it.
So again, just like this time, you don't spend the magic points, but we'll assume that happens at some point. Just scratch off the magic points as you will.
Okay.
Yeah. So what are the rest of you doing here? You're still probably charged with adrenaline. You're full of intensity after this violent conflict, and the floors of 2 of your rooms are covered with these disgusting, like one of them, all this nasty glop that spilled out of the other, and your room has one of these creatures actually still in it, dead and pinned to the floor. And as the ship rights itself, as the waters calm, the steady efforts of all the bailing out of the from the deck actually lowers the water level to the point where you can now see the creature. Harmast, it's actually really big. It was just hard to see that because it was underwater. It's easily the size of a large human. And like I said, it's sort of a grayish, vaguely translucent, gelatinous thing with this weird lopsided mouth and 2 crazy eyes that look that don't seem to line up, and in fact they almost seem like they move all over the thing's body. And the mouth is just open, and you can see pinned from where you pinned it to the deck. It just cut a large section of its body open. And there you go. And you realize, yeah, in dark water, it would probably be invisible.
And I've never heard of anything like this before.
No. In fact, unless you have there is a lore skill called beast lore, which I don't think any of you have. So,
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, the one character that might be able to make a crack at it would be Sorala, who is fairly learned. So it might have crossed your path at some point. So Sorala is
lore?
No. Pavis is a desert community. It's a town in the middle of the Great Plains of Prax. But if you made an int ×2 roll, you might be able to successfully identify the thing.
Okay. Let's see.
And you could also augment, perhaps, with a rune. A rune?
Let's see. I do have Truth Rune at 95.
Which is pretty good for determining things.
I think I'll roll on that, see if I can augment. Let's see. Rolling. Okay, 14 on my augment.
Oh, that's actually a special. So add 30% to your int ×2.
Okay.
And so Sorala, if I recall, well, I can look at it myself. Her int is really crazy high. So you basically got a 70 chance of knowing what that is. Again, a special success. Wow.
13.
That creature is something called a Brawlicon. The name actually translates in ancient Theolan into shapeless. It is a blob of tissue. It doesn't have any limbs. It's just got eyes and a face. They move by just sliding around over land and in the water. They are definitely ocean and water-born creatures. They are considered to be stupid and vicious. And they are said to be the spawns of a creature called the Vol, which are a sort of a hideous chaos water elemental type of a creature. These sort of sea hag type monsters. They are the formless spawn of those.
So, I mean, is
And
it
Harmast is very lucky he was not engulfed by the thing. That's what you know.
odd to see them here in this location?
No, they inhabit watery areas, but what that means is there's probably a lair somewhere nearby.
What about the storm? Was the storm big part of them? I mean, was it coincidence or
Well, Sorala would know. They don't seem to have any powerful magic. They're not they're not even they're barely intelligent. They're actually really, really stupid. But the Vol, their mothers, the creatures that spawned them, are highly intelligent and are in fact very, very powerful in magic. Very powerful magic.
so do we think one of those is near?
You tell me.
Well, I mean, none of the other windows, none of the other slatted openings were broken in, right? Just ours and what's his name again?
Thessalonus.
Sislanis. So this was a coordinated attack. These things are stupid, and how many slatted window portals are on the boat? Like the one to our room.
Each of the four the four cabins has one.
Okay, so I guess it could have been a 50-50, but it seems like this was a directed attack. Did anyone in particular get off the boat at our last stop?
Yeah, well, but he got back on.
No, not get back on, right?
Oh.
Yeah, no, there were no passengers that got off at Valadon. Everyone who's on the boat seems to be heading down to Noche.
Maybe it was looking for something specific, something that was either in the treasure chest that we're bringing along, or something that Sislanis had in his goodie bag that he drug back on board.
Does anybody have a detect magic spell?
I don't think I do. Magic.
Could you cast it on the gifts that we're transporting?
Okay, so I guess
unless we already know certain of the items are magical, were we told?
Unless you've done any efforts on that behalf, no.
Okay.
I have I guess it's a find magic matrix in my
that lets you find. Yeah, that actually does let you find magic items.
Okay. Is there a specific role for it, or?
It's your power times 5.
Okay.
It's as if you're casting find magic.
Okay. I will try to boot it up. Okay, 63. I have a POW of 13.
By 2.
Yay.
All right. You get a sense that there are a couple of items in this treasure that have some minor enchantments upon them. Like you notice, like if you want to start sorting through some of it, you find a little leather slip that has a jeweled comb that seems to be carved out of some kind of white jade that It's got some kind of minor enchantment on it. It sort of glows when you pull it out. There are a number of, you open up a thing, and there are a lot of little discs that almost look like checker pieces, if you know, for a modern equivalent. And those each kind of glow a little bit as if they're magical, but they're very minor, these sort of enchantments. And there's even a small cordial or some sort of a perfume bottle that gives off a shiny light, as if it's enchanted. It doesn't tell you what the magic enchantment is, but you definitely know that these are magical or have
Okay.
some sort of a spell effect.
And what about Cislanus's gear?
Nothing about him is particularly magical
Okay,
or even remotely magical.
but potentially delicious.
Yeah, who knows?
Okay, that is kind of odd, though. I mean, it hit us and it hit him specifically. So that, you know, there's some sort of connection here, I think.
And as you guys are talking, you notice there's a shout and a cry of concern from the deck. And the ship is like something creaks and the ship seems to run into something. Like it slows for a moment and then there's almost a grinding as the ship stops.
I went up on deck earlier. What do I see?
You look and it is the most remarkable thing you've ever seen. What seemed to be a river heading just, you know, down south is now you are plunged into the middle of a forest. Trees covered with muck and slime and dripping as if they've risen out of the water themselves, have completely overtaken the river. This thick mist hangs over it all, and your ship is almost caught in the middle of it. It's even a little bit strange to look around and imagine how your ship could have gotten into this, because the trees are so close together and so tight. It is as if a forest has sprung up almost instantaneously, and the captain, Captain Karkas, or Zarka, yes, right, Karka, sorry, my notes are all over the place. Captain Karka, he looks at you and he looks like, what is this? Do you have anything to do with this? I know this was a mistake. Oh, I knew it was a mistake. He seems really, really upset. And he's like, what is this? There's no forest on the river.
I tried to explain to him if I had this kind of magic, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, he's just stupefied by this. He's like, give up. And he, you know, takes his little leather hat and throws it on the deck and storms off. And then he, a moment later, he comes back and he starts yelling at people to get axes and get the swimmers ready, because they need to clear a path here. This is, whatever it is, it needs to be cleared.
Does this look like? Sorry.
I'm going to go to the side and just look over and try to get a good look into the forest to see if there's anything else to be seen that might show what this is and why it's here.
All right, I would like you to make what is affectionately called a scan roll.
Okay.
I'm very affectionate about scan rolls. Very affectionate.
$60, and I have a 65.
All right. You look down and you see stuff moving in the water. Something weird, very, very strange. And in fact, as you are looking, you see like something starts moving, like swimming in the water, almost humanoid. You see these dark figures. They're lit by only the moonlight shining through the trees down below. And then some of them start climbing up the tree branches and moving along them to the point where they're very obvious. They're not making any indication of hiding. And you see they're long, blue-bodied creatures that have they have a upper humanoid torso and arms, and their bodies fade into long, long, narrow tails rather than legs. They have strange, very sort of blue skin and reddish, long, straggly hair that hangs down and seems almost half clear. And their fingers are webbed, and they seem to be, like I say, sliding up and around the tree branches and whatnot. As you walk, and there are a lot of them.
I'm going to yell out to them in trade talk as best I can. Oh there! What is this? Did you create this?
All right. Oh. One of them, it like detaches itself from a branch that's hanging over the deck and sort of lands near it and grabs hold of the masthead of the ship, and its tail sort of whips around it. So it's held there, and it looks really strange, and it points this long, thin, narrow, it's almost like a sword at you. It's vaguely clear. It almost looks organic. And it says in extremely poor trade talk, it says, "Return that which is ours."
Sorry, return what?
That which is ours.
Which one of us is the linguist? Who has the best language skills?
Not.
That would probably
Not
be
me.
Durall.
I'm gonna say back. What is it that is yours that you think we have?
The crown.
Do I remember a crown in any of the items that we brought?
Make an 8x5 roll.
I'm gonna say that's a success.
Okay, I didn't actually. I had a different window open. Oh yeah, definitely. You know, you think about it, and there was a round, sort of flattish box, and he sort of popped it open, and it had something that looked like it was made out of red stone and platinum, and you think it might have been a crown of some sort, like it was in a display box, the kind of box that you would transport something very valuable in. It was padded with a lot of, like, even a velvety sort of a base to rest on, and you realize, yeah, it was not a large crown, but yeah, or a torque. It could have been a crown or a torque. You think that might be what they're talking about.
And who are you that claims possession over something we may or may not possess?
Another couple of these creatures at this point sort of swarm up the sides. And before too much of this goes on, I'd like to know what everybody else is doing, so that it's not just, you know, Vostor standing here alone while everybody else is in
I'm up there.
stasis.
I'm up there with Vostor. I got my bow ready, even though I don't think it'd be very effective, but I've got his back.
Well,
All right.
I guess I can try, see if they speak any of the other languages I know a little bit better than trade talk.
Okay.
Let's see. I have Esrolian, Portling, Aldwormish, New Pelorian, and Thalayan.
Thalayan. That's the written language that everybody speaks. That's the written language.
Okay.
It's like the written alphabet that Hjortlings and Esrolians and New Pelorians all use. It's like everybody shares an alphabet. But none of these are particularly relevant to this creature. I'm going to just tell you that for free.
I'm going to go run and see if I can find that crown.
Okay. You head back into the room, and you look around and you do not see that beautiful wooden case anywhere.
Check
It either had to be a
says
hitch.
Lannis.
Oh,
What's
Yes,
that?
that's honest.
Check says Lannis.
He is sipping some sort of a hot tea that somebody has provided him from the meager kitchen they had put together in the back room, and he looks surprised at you when you come in. He's
Mention
still
that
kind of slimy. He's wiped
hey,
his face off though.
the monsters that are holding us hostage now with their river forest are did you see a box, about this big, wood, had a weird crown or some sort of necklace? Or
He looks very, very confused. Make an insight roll if you could, Sorala, daughter of Toria.
okay, let's see.
Your insight is, oh, you don't even have insight. So yeah, you might want to augment that with truth or something. Or
Okay,
perhaps
I do have a truth rune. Would that?
well, oh wait, you've just used that earlier in this scene. So however, you might want to try a passion. For example, your devotion to your loyalty to Nochet or your loyalty to Queen Samastina, considering that you're supposed to take the stuff to Nochet and
Or,
Queen
I
Samastina
guess,
is the one.
loyalty to Argrath, since we've been trusted with the sacred duty.
That's even better.
Okay, let's see. Got 59 out of 80.
Oh yeah, you you get a sense. Well, wait, no, actually, that was just the augment. My bad. So add plus 20 to your insight roll. Your insight roll is 20 plus your perception skill, a plus 10, and a plus 20 there. So it's 50. So can you roll below a 50? Or
I got 54.
so he seems to be sincere. Yeah, he looks very surprised. He's like, box with a crown? What are you talking about?
Well,
Why
if
would
you
I
know where one
anything about
is and don't want to get murdered by these creatures, that'd be, if you do stumble across it, we really need it very badly.
I of course I would anything for you, Sorala. You're so kind to me earlier. Perhaps I can show you when we reach Nochet some of those not those places, from Valadon, but much better places. I would love to take you to explore that fine city. I know it quite well.
And I would certainly love that. It's just a matter of us living to get there.
All right. So Vasana and Harmast, what are each of you doing at this time?
I went to get my axe because I heard someone up top say we needed an axe for the.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The ducks and the human crew, they all start moving towards these trees with axes, and then almost as if on cue, as they near the trees that are like wedged up against the boat, these creatures sort of slither up and hiss at them, and they sort of fall back, paralyzed with fear.
So right now, I guess really we need to try to figure out where this crown is or continue to speak to them.
Mm.
So you said
Okay,
trade
Harm.
was working?
It spoke a little bit of trade talk to Vostor, yes. And Harmast, what are you doing?
so I never left the room with the goods.
Right.
Once everyone wandered off, I'm putting my armor on.
Okay.
And I don't know how long that takes.
Not long.
Okay.
You've
And then I
certainly
hear,
finished it by now.
okay. And then I think I hear from across the hall the conversation between Sarala and I'm never going to remember his name.
Ceslanius.
Ceslanius. And so, do I remember any such box?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it's not in the room anymore. And I didn't leave the room.
See it. It might have been washed out.
Oh, that's good.
There was a lot of stuff splashing around, but you don't see it, no. As a matter of fact, now that he mentions, he says, oh, this wooden box is kind of round. It's about like this dimension, like a large, almost like a dinner plate, but, several inches thick. Wood stretched with a beautiful red leather and a silver pattern etched on it. And then you never opened it after, you remember though, Argrath actually opened it up and went, ooh, when he saw it was something ornate out of what's some kind of red stone and something silver. And then he just closed it and said, definitely this. But you remember that? You remember putting it on one of the piles of stuff, but it doesn't seem to be there now.
So I want to be able to leave the room, but if I leave the room, then anybody can come in and take the other stuff. The rune warding spell, how does that work? Can I just throw a warding on the room and then go about my business?
Yeah, you would spend a rune point. You would use whichever rune is your highest and most favored. And the ward would basically alert you if anybody enters the room.
That's either harmony or air is 90%.
Yeah.
Okay, so roll. So I've warded the room.
Okay, now you basically, you need 4 little poles, but I'm just going to assume you have some of these ready. They can be little wands. It's not a big deal that you have them.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be something you carry with you. And yeah, so you made a roll of your absolutely, yes. You cast the spell, spend a rune point, scratch it off, and anything to enter this room will actually be attacked by spirit combat, and it will alert you.
All right.
And
well, I guess
if anybody tries to manipulate the stakes, they will be affected by it. You should probably tell your people.
Yes. I'm going to let Sarala know because she's right there. The room's warded. And I guess I'll go up on deck and say, hey, I've warded the room. Who are these people?
Yeah, you see all these weird, these wet creatures hanging around in the trees. And forgive me if I start getting a little fast. I realize we're on a bit of a countdown timer. So
yeah.
I'll try to make sure that we wrap this up and
Sure.
give you a satisfying conclusion here. So yes, you see these creatures, and one of them is engaged with Vostor and Natham, and it says, the crown of Coralinthor, return it to us.
I say, I think the witches stole it.
Which?
I think the witches sent some slimy stuff into our building and took it.
They look at each other very, very concerned. What are the rest of you doing?
So Sarala's come back up, correct? And let us know
Yes,
that we don't seem to have it. It does not seem to be in our possession anymore. So I'm with Harmast. I believe it was stolen from us. If you could sense that we had this from the beginning, can you not sense that we no longer have it?
They look a little confused, and they speak to each other in some language that is definitely like nothing you've ever heard before. It's a weird hissing and gurgling. And then one of them says, we sensed it when it entered the water. And then they look and say, it perhaps, they seem a little confused. They're also kind of not quite as bright as. Oh, actually, no, wait. Never mind. I was reading that wrong. They seem rather dim because their language skills are quite poor, but they say she has it. Yes, she has it. Oh, it is lost.
Can we get it back from her?
Yes. Is there something we can do to help?
Yes, she, the river witch, the Vogue. She dwells near here, and it points off to the side, towards the coast, or the riverbank, I should say, not a coast. And it says she, near Valadon. She perhaps has taken, yes, her children take. Yes.
Hmm.
Can you return?
So now Valadon, we're still a good ways from Valadon at this point, right? It's
At
behind
that
us.
point, not that far, like a couple of hours, basically,
Oh, a couple
if I
hours walk.
recall. Yeah, it would be a little longer, but a ship doesn't travel that much faster than walking speed.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, you could be there. It's nighttime, but you could be there by morning.
If you can release our ship, then we can travel back that direction and see what we can do to find this crown of yours.
All right. They all look at each other and then they say, "Return crown, we release ship."
I guess we're not taking the ship back.
It was a nice try, though.
All right. So very quickly then, I would like to ask you each, and like I said, I'm going to try to expedite this so that we are able to finish reasonably or close to the time that we decided this would end. So very quickly, what do you decide to do?
Let's walk to get this
Yep.
monster.
Okay. All
Armor,
right.
walk.
Okay. Are you doing anything else related to the ship or just heading out?
Are we
One other
leaving?
thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Just wondering if we're leaving our stuff on the ship and we've got our animals. Are we coming back? Are we going to help and then coming back to the ship?
I think we're definitely coming back, but I think we should do something to secure our the treasure in our care.
All right. If the captain hears you with any of this, he says to you, your possessions will be safe. I swear it. And he puts his hand over his chest.
We'll hold you to that.
He looks a little insulted, in fact. He just gave you his bond. And of course. But yes. So
And we'll go ahead and walk.
Okay, any other preparations you do?
Armor and then the weapons.
Okay, so fully be weaponed and be armored. I'm going to cut to the chase. You ask the creatures where this thing lives, and they tell you. She lives in a cavern that's very close to a small stream that feeds into the Lixos River, just past Valadon. You actually remember where it was, and you either walk or ride your beasts of burden up there. I mean, there are only 2 beasts, so it might be easier if everybody just walked. But you find yourselves looking at this thing. There's a waterfall that splashes down in a rough area in the forest. It's very fertile and a little rocky area on this riverside. And yeah, the river sort of, or rather, this is basically a glorified stream that leads into the river. And so you definitely find yourself looking, and it's pretty obvious that there's some kind of a cave behind that. What are you doing?
In we go.
I'm going to prepare
Yeah.
a speed dart on the arrows when we go in. Then.
I'll cast Path Watch.
All right. Well, Pathwatch I don't think would be super useful in this regard. because
Oh,
it's more
okay.
like it would be the spell you would cast when you were going rather than the spell that you cast when you get there.
Oh, okay.
You might have cast it on the way, but it's
Okay.
it's a lot for a rune spell. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right then. You find yourselves at this cave. Who's going in first?
I'll go first. Oh, go ahead.
You.
You go first then.
I assume
Asana's-
we're foregoing stealth and we're just going to announce ourselves and go in, right?
Yeah. Are you going in quiet or are you going in loud? That is a big question.
Oh, 5 people in armor.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
think
know
I'm
if
the only
stealth is an
quiet one,
option.
so
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think as quiet as we can, but there's going to be a lot of clanking.
Are you quiet?
yeah, but I'm the only one. All the rest of you are armored, so
Yeah.
I'll be the support by fire position in this one.
I don't think I have any metal armor other than my helmet.
Well, you can hang out with me then. We'll be quiet.
Okay.
I'll,
so I
I'll
have
make
a-
enough noise for both of you.
Yes. And I
So
seem
I'll,
to recall our mass is rather loud too, so
Yes. So I'll go in either beside or right behind Harmast.
Okay. I'm actually getting a picture ready for you guys that I for some reason forgot to prepare. All right, so I would like you each to make anyone who's going in first, make a scan roll if you could. Any success?
I rolled a 100.
Oh, so, and that was the person in the lead?
Yep. They're over
Okay.
there.
And the person right behind him is rolled a 93. So the two of us are pretty clueless to what's in front of us.
All right, I'm gonna drop a picture in the Slack thread if you want to look at it. There's no need to if you don't feel you would like to, but this is going to give you an idea about the thing that leaps out of the darkness. You enter this cave. It is very slimy, very wet, the crashing sounds of the water, and it seems like it's also fed from within, like water is running down along the floor outward. And there's some kind of light back there, giving you a little bit of illumination. But then as you approach, there's this thing just basically lunges out of nowhere, and a whip, this long, kind of almost made out of some sort of a knotted flesh-like material, like lashes out at which of you was in first again? Let me check. That was
I think Harmast was in front.
Harmast. It lashes out at you, Harmast. Can you try to make me a well, actually you fumbled your
I fumbled.
so, okay.
Yep.
So yeah, your right arm just suddenly whack, something hits your right arm and wraps around it. I'm gonna roll some damage here. Ooh, 10 points of damage to your right arm, Harmast.
Well, that is not working anymore.
Okay, so you drop your sword and your arm just now what's your armor on your right arm?
6.
Oh yeah, so you can heal up. It's not lost.
It's not
but
cut
yeah,
off.
you can't,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not good in a fight right now with it. And yeah, it lashes out at you and you're suddenly there. And who was second in line?
That'd be Bolster.
Vostor, a claw comes out of nowhere and comes at you. It will hit you, but did you make a decent roll for your scan?
No, I made like a
no,
93.
yeah.
I missed it.
Yeah, I see now. Sorry, I
I would
was in
assume-
another window.
No chance to parry.
You can try a half parry.
Okay. No.
All right. Something hits you in the head. This clawed hand kind of comes out of nowhere and rakes against your helmet. It does 5 points of damage.
Oh, all soaked by armor.
Okay,
God.
but yeah, just suddenly
For a good
something
helmet.
rocks you in the head. You hear these claws and scraping along your head. Let me see. And yes, it hisses at you hideously, this horrific creature. And it has gone this round. It moves very, very fast, by the way, and it got a surprise since you were both kind of fumbling with your perception rolls. So now we move to a new round with strike rank 1 for everybody. Who's up? Anyone? Any rune magic? Yes, you've encountered what is called a va. It is in her, or a vo. I'm not sure how to pronounce it technically. It is a hideous sea creature of sorts. Sorala could probably tell you more about it, but she's basically a water demon. She's covered with these dark robes that are all dripping, and she gives off this tremendously rotting smell.
Rune magic goes off on strike rank 1.
Yes, it does.
I'm going to cast Heal Wound.
Good plan.
Yep.
All right. So you can do that. Make a whatever rune you choose to use, which is generally your best rune for common knowledge spells.
Yeah, air would be a 90 and try to roll. 44.
Success. So how many, mark off however many magic points you're going to dump into that to heal that back.
So how does that, I guess I've had 4 damage, so I'll use 4. Is that the way it works? You just spend 4 points.
You probably want to, well, how much armor did you have in that armor?
So I had 6, so 10, 4 came through. So the arm was negative 1 from 3.
Oh yeah, that's right. Harmast has wait, let me double check here. I want to make sure the numbers are correct. Harmast.
Yep.
Right arm, 3. So yeah, your arm would be at -1. Anything 2 hit points or more would put you at able to use it.
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and, heal it up to 4 so it goes back to 3.
Sure. Yeah, then it will be healed up to 4. Then whoomp, you move your hand over it. The truth, I think it's the truth rune you use, or air rune. So yeah, the air rune sort of spins, the wind howls, and your wound knits and heals and suddenly feels a lot less painful. You'll have a scar, but you can use your arm again. Could you make me a Dex ×5 roll or less?
Sure. Darn it. Oh, I think I accidentally clicked another site. 1 second. Okay, now I'm going back. Okay. Darn it.
Okay, you've got your sword still in your hand. Your hand froze up around it. All right. So strike rank 1. Anyone else? Anyone doing any rune magic?
So Voster's going to try to cast a befuddle on the vo, if he can still see it.
Yeah, he can see it.
And I think that's a 2-point spell with a dex strike rank of 2, so I think that'll go off in the 4th strike rank.
Yes, and then you'll need a power versus power.
Right.
So, all right. When I get to strike rank 4, let me know, and we'll handle that. All right. Strike rank 2. Anyone? Oh,
I got a question.
Sure.
I know it's in a cave, and so this might be a splendidly bad idea.
There are no bad ideas. 8 minutes before a scenario is supposed to end. Go ahead, light it up. That is a Vasana thing to do.
Okay, and so when you do the rune spell, do you use a passion, or do you use the runes itself to augment, or do you roll?
You can use a passion to augment a rune spell. Yes, you can. And you roll for your success against the rune itself. So for Vasana, you would be rolling an air rune to try to see if you succeed in the spell, and you could augment with whatever passion you think would be particularly applicable, that we both agree makes sense.
Lightning
So
is so devotion to Orlanth because he's a storm god and lightning is from the storms.
sure, that makes complete sense. Orlanth hates creatures of chaos, and this is almost definitely one, or darkness at least.
So the first roll is a roll, and this is for the devotion, right?
Yes.
Against the.
So first roll your devotion. That is it's not a critical success, but it is a success. So add 20% to your air rune for your rune spell. And keep track of any rune points you spend. And then try, again, I think Fasana's air rune is 20, so you got a 110 chance. So, and you succeed with a roll of 69. Now, how many rune or magic points did you want to dump into that? Let me look at that spell. So yeah, so you cast it as a 1 point.
Is that, I don't know how it works. So.
Oh yeah,
For
yeah.
each
It's now you can, it automatically, it costs 1 point and it does 1d6 damage. You can spend additional rune points, and then those will each do additional points of damage.
But I only have 3 rune points, right?
So you could dump all 3 into it, or you could use less than that.
Let's do 2.
Okay, so now we make it's a power versus power roll. What is your power?
That's on the front. That's my power is 15.
Okay,
right?
Make a power versus power roll, please. And I'm going to say that since your augment was affecting this, it will add that. So the plus 20% will go that. So basically just roll your percentage dice. I will tell you if you succeed or not.
So roll D100.
Yes. Definitely. Yeah, you absolutely managed to overcome its POW. So roll 2d6, if you will, and then a d20. Dang. 13 is a right arm. And your damage roll is 5 and a 6, so that's 11 points. So you blasted in the arm for quite a bit of damage. I'm going to keep track of that. All right. And
Did their clothing catch fire?
it does not, because it is soaking wet, but it's smoldering a bit. Everyone, I'm just a little concerned. We're supposed to end in 4 minutes. Is everybody okay if we go a little over time to resolve this fight? Okay,
Absolutely.
I just wasn't sure. I don't know how GenCon is scheduled, and you got to get to your next event, wherever that might be.
My next event's in 8 hours, so I'm good.
Okay, all right, yeah. So we're at strike rank 2 then. Anyone? Yeah, technically Vasana's spell should have gone off at strike rank 2 because she put an extra point into it. Strike rank 3. 4.
Yeah, that would be my befuddle spell.
Okay, and Natham, if you've got your bow, you should be able to launch an arrow pretty soon, I believe.
It says strike rank 6 for the composite bow.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, you're okay.
I'm going to use the speed dart with it though, but that doesn't actually help it go faster.
Okay. Let me check one thing though. Actually, I think that might be incorrect on that character sheet because you're shooting a bow.
The composite bow says 3.
Yeah. So, Boster, what's your strike rank? Your dex strike rank?
For Natham? Dex strike rank is
Yeah, Natham. That's right.
Yeah.
It's 1.
Okay. Yeah, actually, you should be able to fire once on your strike rank. So that is, if you had an arrow ready, You could actually fire on strike rank 1.
I would like to do that.
Okay, we're just going to zip time back a little bit and say that you do that. You can.
I can hold my attack till now, right? I could have held my attack till now.
Sure. Yes. All right. So basically, you hold. You're just about ready to fire, and suddenly Vasana points her sword, and a blast of lightning arcs from it, strikes the creature in the arm. It shrieks and is knocked back a little ways. And then we get to strike rank 4.
I'd like to augment the shot with the air.
Okay.
Okay. So the rune's at 60 for air, roll 36.
Okay. So yeah, you're basically calling on it to guide the arrow to where it needs to go. So then, yeah, and wind is howling by you in the room, basically with Vasana throwing out rune magic and invoking her air rune, and then you suddenly throwing an air rune thing. There's a lot of wind in this corridor.
And then with the speed dart adds a plus 15% plus what for the augmented rune?
20.
So it gives me a plus 35 to my 70, so 105 for the bow.
Okay.
Wow. Holy cow. Way to go.
All right. Wow. Well, we may wrap up. So I would like you to make a. All right. I'm going to see if she can.
My damage is 1d8 plus 1. The speed dart gives me additional plus 3.
Yeah. So, all right. Make a. Yeah, your damage roll. With a critical, you basically do impaling damage. So your bow is 1d8 plus 1, so that's 9. And then you do another d8 plus 1, so it's 10 plus 1d8. And then whatever extra damage, what's your strength bonus?
My strength is a 14, so it says I'm 1d8 plus 1 for the bow, and then I don't see my strength.
Okay.
Damage.
Oh,
here it is.
yeah.
Plus 1d4.
Yeah, so half that, so plus 1d2. So basically you're at 1d8 plus 10 plus 1d2. And then whatever you do for the speed dart. Whatever extra damage that does.
Let's try that and see how that works.
Okay.
I think you got to roll your 1d2 again.
All right, so grand total of 20.
20 points to a location.
Yeah, please roll a d20. 18, left arm. Oof. Yeah, the arrow just goes through her arm completely, and the magical, like because of the speed dart, it glows, and it's almost as if a little fiery lance bursts through her arm. With 20 points, you utterly bypass her armor, which is quite, well, actually, with a critical, you bypass her armor. So, yeah.
It's actually 23 because it didn't add his last 3 points of damage.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Oh wait, I did something wrong here. Yeah, you blast her so thoroughly, her arm just goes complete, like flaps off to the side and hangs, and it's you probably shattered the bone, and it's utterly like dangling at this horrible, unnatural angle. And that was the arm holding the whip, so the whip sort of flops out of her hand, and she howls in fury and pain, and then we move to strike rank 5, and she seems really
In 4, my befuddle went off as well.
Okay, so make your befuddle roll, if you will.
That's my spirit magic roll. It looks like that worked. And now it's a power versus power.
Yes, and what's your power?
15.
Okay, make a roll.
81. Probably not.
No, in fact, she's definitely very strong. She has a very strong willpower. She's very magically capable, and she's filled with fury and pain.
Yeah.
She'd probably befuddled a bit naturally on her own. And so we move to strike rank 6 then.
Oh, I'm at strike rank 5.
Ah, 5 then.
Well, I rush her with the broadsword. Got 21 out of 70.
Okay, she's going to try to parry with her her clawed hand, the claw that has not been half blown off. And no, she's not successful there.
Okay. Oh,
Roll your damage.
Forgot to put the slash on
you
there.
got to have this little slash there.
Got 7.
Okay, where do you hit her? Roll a d20 for me.
It's like 1.
You hit her in the leg and you cut deeply with your sword, but it feels like it just doesn't penetrate these thick, sort of grotesque robes that sort of slide over her body. They like catch and the sword sort of slides off and you don't think you did anything to her. These robes are really, really tough. And then we move to strike rank 6, 7.
Can I shoot twice?
Wait,
Sorry, go ahead.
What was that?
I said, since I shot a strike rank 1, can you shoot twice in a turn with a bow?
You can if you've got enough strike ranks to draw again and then fire at the second time. So basically, if you fire at strike rank 6, you will be able, or strike rank 1, it takes 5 to reload, and then you could fire at the end of at the next one.
6 or 7.
Yeah, let's say, and since I'm gonna say that you basically held back a little bit, so probably 7, which would mean you get a second shot this round. So is anyone going on 6 though? Was anyone? I hesitate to move too quickly through people. So 7 then, a second arrow?
I think I'm 7 as well.
Okay, and Harmast, what are you doing?
Swinging with my sword. We'll see what happens.
All right. Yeah, let's let Harmast get a swing here before.
So it looks like her robe's really heavy. Does she have anything protecting her head?
Yes, it's draped over. She's pretty much entirely encompassed in all that stuff. Now, you could try a called shot to bypass some particular armor.
That's what I want to do.
Okay, let me double check exactly where that is at. Oh, yeah, basically what that happens is you wait until strike rank 12, and then you hit her where you would like to.
Okay, I'll wait.
Basically call the hit location. All right.
Yeah.
So then we go to strike rank 7. That would be Nathem's second shot.
Can I use the spell matrix in my bow to do multi-missile on that shot, or is that too much for one turn?
That adds, actually, wait, if you used speed dart, that put your shot up to, you did speed dart 3?
Speed dart.
So then that put your regular shot at 4. So yeah, we're at, you'll actually go at 9 again.
Okay,
My bad, I'm forgetting where we're at here.
But 9 would be just a regular shot, though. I couldn't use the spell matrix in the bow.
If you want to, you could, but that would increase by that number of magic points again.
So
it could take you up
11.
Okay, so you would go at 11 then, if you want to use the spell matrix again.
Okay.
That sound good?
I'll do that.
All right. 8, 9. Oh, she strikes. She basically, at this point, I think Vostor, you're kind of looking like you're in her grill. And she comes at you and takes a swing with her claw. And she's going to hit.
Okay, so this I will definitely try to parry with my large
It's a very
shield.
wise idea.
That's a 14 out of a 90.
Wow, you do a special success. So yeah, you managed to get your shield up and she claws deeply into it. You can hear the metal rasping as or rather the rasp of the metal as her bony claws scrape into it. And you realize it probably would have done a considerable amount of damage, but you also managed to probably hurt her a little bit, just sending the impact of pain up her arm. I'm going to mark that.
It's better than being hit in the head.
Yes, and then we move to strike rank 9, 10.
I think I can swing on 10.
Yeah, now Vasana, are you doing anything else?
If I can, yes. I don't know how that
Oh,
works.
absolutely. You can totally strike. All you needed to do, since you cast a 2-point rune spell, is you just add 2 to whatever your strike rank is, and then you can attack at that number. So
I could go at 9, so I'll go at whatever number we're at now.
we just hit 10, so we'll just assume that you paused for a moment. You went, oh my God, I can attack again. By Orlan. And make the roll.
Okay.
And no steam. I do not want to update right now.
So my broadsword's not.
All right, and she does not parry with her. She tries to get her claw in front of your sword, and she does not parry. So please roll your damage.
So 10.
Oh, very nice. And roll a d20 for me to see where you strike her.
10.
Oof, abdomen. Oh, that's horrible. All right. Okay, she looks really, really poorly at this point. You jam your sword into her, and somehow your sword just vanishes into this darkness, and you hear her make this horrible, horrible howl. And then at strike rank 10, anybody?
Yeah, I think so. I cast my spell in 4, and then I have a strike rank 6 with my compass. So I believe I can strike with that.
Okay, and then Sarala waved.
Yep.
So, all right, I'm let you guys each handle that. So Vostor, what are you going to do? Copa swing?
So I rolled a 68 out of an 80, so I hit.
All right, and she does not parry again because she's parried so many times or attempted to parry this for many, many times.
So that is a 7 plus 1, 8 points.
8 points to her.
9.
Also, deep into her abdomen, somewhere in there, your sword slashes into the darkness. You hear a bit of a grunt from her. Sarala, what were you going to do?
I rolled a swing, and let's see, I rolled a 55, got a skill of 70.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's a success. And she has, at this point, I think, parried. No, she would have only parried if I rolled some crazy number. So, yeah, she's so far defenseless at this point.
See if I can roll. Let's see, her location is 12.
That is chest.
Okay, and for damage. Seven plus total of 11.
All right. And you hit her, if I remember correctly, in the chest, which is the roll of 12. So yeah, I subtract her 8 points of armor, and you do an additional 3, which in fact, Sarala, you step forward. Are you using your sword or your axe?
Broadsword.
The broadsword. Sarala, you step forward and jam your sword into her. It manages somehow to part this heavy cloth she has covering her, and it goes deeply into her. And at that point, she sort of gasps Her one remaining arm kind of grabs your shoulder, and then she slides to her knees and collapses to the ground.
Nice.
And a large pool of just vicious or viscous ichor black fluid pours out from her, almost like shadow. And very quickly, I'll just sort of speed up. You manage to find, amidst a vast pile of muck-covered treasure and other items, you manage to find this little crown of, the box has been cast aside, and it looks like it's a crown made of red coral and platinum, carved with runes representing Coralinthor Bay and the water rune all over it. It is elegant and fit for the daintiest of brows. And it looks like it is a considerable treasure. And yeah, it's got magic coming off of it. It's very, very neat. I'm going to assume that you collect all of the whatever looks like reasonable amount of loot from her cavern, and make your way back to the ship where the blue elves, the Mirthoi, are waiting for you. And they demanded, were you successful when you arrived back at the ship? The leader wants to know, do you have our crown? He extends his hands both towards you. And
yes,
who's in charge? Like, who's in front? Basically, who has the crown?
Vostor.
Sure. So since Vostor was talking to them before, he'll go ahead and open the box and say, "Is this what you are looking for? Is this your possession?"
Okay. Yes, it is ours. Now, I would like Sorala and Vasana each to make rolls for me. Sorala, I would like you to make a loyalty to Queen Samastina roll, and I would like Vasana to make a loyalty to Argrath roll. And Harmast probably as well. I think Harmast has a pretty good loyalty to Argrath.
You and I might be the only ones.
What's that?
It's just me.
Yeah, I think Vostor and Natham could give a crap about Argrath.
This is the right thing to do. I'm sure of it.
It keeps us alive.
Yeah, and
Right.
I'm not really sure I even want to give it to them. I want to make some kind of a bargain if possible. But anyway, 15.
Okay.
Our master's
So
right
what
there,
does-
Markham, though.
Yeah, now basically, if you succeed in your passion roll, your loyalty, what that means is you're tormented, you're conflicted. You think, like, for example, Harmast, you're like, my loyalty is to Argrath. I said to Argrath I would deliver this. I promised him, and now I'm giving it away. What does that mean? I don't know. You still get to do whatever you want to do. A passion will not tell you how you act, but it will tell you how tormented you are about that. And if you choose to act against that passion without somehow coming to grips with it, you will probably have that passion reduced. For a campaign, that kind of sucks because it means, well, I guess I don't care that much about Argrath. You're voting against your passion or your devotion to him. Vasana, I would think, did you succeed in that? I'm looking.
No, my loyalty to Argrath is 70, and I rolled an 85.
Yeah, you're totally free to make whatever decision you want to. This is, you're free. No challenges. You can intellectualize, rationalize whatever you want to do. Sorala, how did you do with your loyalty to Queen Samastina?
Fail, or I guess no, I succeeded, so I am tormented.
Okay, so this crown is supposed to go to her. She's the Queen of Nochet, which overlooks Coralinthor Bay. And if this crown is for the ruler, it's devoted to the god Coralinthor, it kind of seems like it should go to her rather than this bunch of weird little blue elves hanging out in a river. But you get to decide what you're going to do. So I ask you, what do you do?
Our master could bargain for a promise from him.
Yeah, I guess. Do I believe that but that Argath's request was more about urgency or completeness? Meaning, did we need to get down to Nochet quickly?
Argrath is pretty much a flying by the seat of his pants, you know, close enough for jazz kind of a guy. He's not subtle, and he's not particularly detail oriented. Now, ultimately, the only people that know that you have this, like, for example, unless Argrath and Samastina compare notes later, it may never come up that crown never reached her.
How many of these elf people are here?
There are easily 20 or 30 in the trees, maybe more.
So to me, everybody, I think if we fight them, there's additional chance that we just don't get through, we don't deliver anything. I think we make a swap of some kind, and then, you know, maybe we can get something that would be of similar value that we can throw into the trove and give to the queen.
We did get a bunch of stuff from the Hag's Lair. We could just throw in equal value.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to try to get anything from the elves themselves?
So
yeah, let's bargain with them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Boaster with almost zero bargaining skills whatsoever says, "Well, we were basically told to bring this to the queen, and that would give some my friends here it would trouble them. Can we have something in return for this of equal value?" Or
at any point you want to harm us, you could just step in and say, "Let me talk to these guys," because deal making is your thing.
Yeah, I'll do a bargain and say,
do you want to augment?
Yes, please. With the harmony, I think harmony is a good. Yeah.
I set it up for you. You're all good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. All right, so on the harmony, which is a 90, I roll a 70.
So add 20 to your bargain roll.
So the bargain goes to an 85.
All right, let's see what happens.
76.
So lucky you did that. Yes, you managed to, after a little bit of haggling, you managed to get a concession from the Murthoi, the sea elves, or the water elves. They will agree that in return for the return of the crown to theirs, which they say was looted long, long ago, like almost 100 years ago, by lunar invaders who came through this region, and somehow it made its way up to the north, and they thought it had disappeared forever. They say in return for the crown, they will swear safe passage to all of Argrath's ships should he sail down here, and they will help defend Samastina's ports against any enemies that harry them. And they say that they know that there are pirates that are causing great difficulty to the harbors and the shores of Nochet, and they will spread the word to stand and defend and be allies to them. And
that sounds like a great deal.
That's a good deal.
Take that.
All right. So then with that, they withdraw, and the trees all shudder and sort of fall back and begin sinking into the ocean. And then by the morning, the way is clear, and you are free to return for your meeting with Queen Samastina of Nochet. And with that, there's not much point in continuing any further. I will wrap this one up. Thank you all for playing. I hope you had fun. If there are any questions you have, I'm happy to answer them.